Wow, that was a terrible intro.
What happened? It was like squeaking and echoing and doing weird stuff.
I don't know, but at least the echo was on time. It almost sounded interesting, except it was terrible. Gandalf, Amy, Laz, welcome everybody. Welcome back.
Bud, how's it going, everyone?
Oh, I'm getting by.
Amy, how you been? Your surgery? Tell us again. I know you just told us offline, but tell everybody else.
Well, I'm a little concerned, and I've got a doctor's appointment this Monday. That they didn't seem overly concerned. I don't know. But I was feeling really good, and I got back to my cat scooping duties, and I scooped out the dish and went, oh my gosh, it needs more cat sand. So I grabbed the cat sand container.
Oh, you grabbed it. Oh, so yeah, that thing's like what, 25?
20 pounds is exactly. And that was the limit that they told me I should pick up.
Okay.
But maybe I shouldn't have picked it up, because when I stood up from doing it, I was dizzy and slightly sick to my stomach and just felt odd. And ever since then, I've been having gross discomfort in my belly region and even around into my back. So I don't know. I'm going to see a doctor real soon now.
Do you think it could be like an ulcer maybe or something?
No, I think it might have torn the stitches a little bit, because they had to stitch my tube that normally went to the gallbladder into the, the system, just bypassing where the gallbladder was. And so, yeah, I wasn't supposed to. They said don't pick up anything heavier than 20 pounds. Well, I wasn't, but I still think it might have caused a problem. So I'm a little, between that and having my friend go to the hospital today, I'm kind of pooped.
Gandalf, what you been up to lately? I haven't talked to you all week.
Nothing much, man. I did go. Well, we did go on that hangout together the other night over on FK and Freddy's, but just kind of an eventful week. Got up early today, caught their newest hangout. Laz, you were on there earlier, bro.
Yeah, when I came on with you guys, we finished the whole 8 hours because Freddie left and whoever was left in the hangout just hung around and chatted. And it turned out that we burned out the whole 8 hour maximum on the YouTube hangout thing. And when I checked it the next day, it was like 8 hours and 1 minute. And I was like, dang. And me and that other guy were just fucking going at it. Funny, that guy came in. What was his name? Joe or something? That dude came in and was trying to preach to us.
Yeah, that was real strange, man, honestly. At the end, right before he left, he said something, I don't know, it kind of put me off a bit. I was like, what the fuck is this guy talking about? He said that he destroyed us all and we were easy to destroy.
Yeah, except he didn't answer a single question and he provided no evidence for any of his assertions. He just made assertion after assertion, just like your average typical apologist. Tons of assertions, absolutely zero evidence. And then when I pressed him for evidence, I was just simply asking him, can you just back up a second and slow down and just give me an answer to this one question? And his response kept coming back with, you won't understand, you won't believe it anyway. And that was his excuse to not provide any more evidence or any evidence at all. Pretty typical. Laz, how you been, brother?
I'm being all right. The same old age situation and dealing with some little bit of problems here. But other than that, all is cool. Thank you.
I noticed that after our show last Friday, like I think it was the very next day on Saturday, that you were, and I think you did it 2 or 3 times within the next couple of days. You were doing your little live stream, and you were talking, more about the same thing. And I showed up in 1 or 2 of your streams. So obviously, this is a subject that that's near and dear to your heart, right?
Oh yeah, this is what I've been doing all these years in YouTube, talking about this.
All these years, meaning how many years?
Um, I'll say since I show my face in YouTube, about 3 years, yes.
So about 3 years. This particular set of subjects, religion, astrology, astrotheology, this particular group of subjects is like what been your main focus most of this time?
Most of the time is religion, not so much astrology or astrotheology. Uh, in that, I mostly mirror videos or whatever because I'm not too informed in that aspect. But more into religion and the basics of religion, traditions, the difference between what spirituality and religion is, and how religion is has been a virus.
You know what I didn't ask you last week was I should have just started the right off the bat the whole conversation, and I'll ask you now, where are you on the scale of religion? Are you an atheist? Are you an agnostic? Do you hold some religious beliefs or no religious beliefs, or where are you on that?
I call myself a practical spiritualist.
A
Yeah.
practical spiritualist?
Yes, that's what I call myself.
Okay.
I'm the kind of guy that if I hear something that I'm interested in, I go try it and see if it's true, if it works or whatever. When it comes to spirituality, in other words, if somebody come to me and say, "Hey, there are aliens out there," and I'm interested in that, I'll try to contact those aliens for me, not to prove it to anybody, but for me. And if somebody comes to me and say, "No, the world, there's demons out there trying to buy your soul," I say, "Okay, so I'm going to call those demons and let me talk to them and see what the hell is going on." So I'm that kind of guy. It's more like a scientific spirituality,
Cool. Okay, cool. So have you actually done that? Or are you just speaking rhetorically? Have you actually taken the time or the effort to contact demons?
Yes, I have done that.
And have you had any success?
No, I haven't found any so-called demons or anything like that. But I made contacts with a spiritual entity. They are very pissed. They are very pissed, and some people might call them demons, but they're just pissed. For whatever reason, they are not realizing that they messed up their lifetime. They have some of them have vengeance for some other people. Some of them are just hurt and wanted to take revenge for whatever life they had, or blame other people because they had a pitiful life. And yeah, I have contacted people like that, spirits like that.
And have you had repeated contact with the same spirit, or have you had
Yes. Yes.
Oh, really? So you've had, on separate occasions, you've had contact with what you would consider to be the same type of entity?
Yes. Yes.
And this is different from the story you told us last week?
Not last week, week before. Yeah, this is different from the alien thing. Remember, it's not so different, the story that I told. I told you that I used to go to these ceremonies. That's how I found out about the alien. So, but I talk about the part of the alien, but we never got into the ceremony part, and that's what the ceremony was for.
Did you ever take any time to ponder whether or not the story you told us about this alien creature, this reptilian thing that appeared and showed itself to you? Now, when I remember that story and I compare it to what you're telling me now, did you ever take the time to consider that experience might have been something similar to what you're talking about now with contacting angry spirits or whatever? Have you ever made any connection like that?
I have considered, but he was one of the only ones that never asked anything from me. Anything.
That asked anything of you?
Yeah, he was one of the only ones that never asked anything.
That never asked anything?
Yeah.
Oh, so your other experiences, you had requests made of you?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Tell me about that.
Request?
Yeah. Go ahead.
Well, for example, there was an entity that called herself a woman, and she was complaining that her daughter didn't want to recognize it when she go to visit her, but she didn't realize she didn't realize that she was already dead, and her daughter won't see her. So the people there tried to convince this entity that that she was already dead, and she went crazy. She started slamming the medium back and forth, and the medium got hurt because she got so pissed when she was told that she was dead, that she was a spirit. And she requested and the second time that she came in, she requested that someone will tell her daughter that she loved her or whatever. And then one of the people there, decided that they were going to do that and go to the lady's home and tell her that they had contacted her mother and her mother sending a message or whatever. So yeah, someone there asked things to be done.
Well,
Roof, I
yeah.
was just going to ask, Wake Now was wondering if he could come on. Would you be down for that? Like, as long as he stays on subject, you know what I mean?
Well, sure. I don't want to impinge on our guest, Laz. Absolutely, Wake Now, and Sovereign is welcome because we're going to be talking about etymology later on. Sovereign and I, the last time those guys were on, me and Sovereign it seemed like we were on the same page on the path of etymology. So I was actually thinking about inviting him as well. So yeah, I mean, if Laz is okay with a couple other folks coming in here to add to the conversation, then I'm totally down with that.
Oh yeah, sure, man. Sure.
Right on, guys.
Okay.
Well, Wake, I sent you a link, okay, bro, on Discord.
Okay. So in the meantime, I'll ask Amy to go ahead and work her way over to Sovereign Humanoid channel and drop him a link on his most recent video so he can.
I can drop a link on Discord. I'm well, maybe not. I'd have to.
I've seen Laz on Discord. Roof, when are you gonna get Discord, man?
I don't know when I get fucking time. There's only so much time in a day, and I spend most of my time on YouTube or I'm working.
Dude, it's so easy, man. It's kind of like Skype, honestly. Just no video chats. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, but having conversations in text form is a slow process. If you especially
but you
try to get
can
into
voice. There's voice on Discord. There's voice on Discord.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but I don't think there's it's just voice. There's no video chat on Discord.
Okay, well.
Yeah, I don't think you can use. Well,
Amy introduced me to it about a month or so ago. Amy introduced me to Discord, and I came on and I just sort of interacted briefly or had a look around one Discord group. And so it's not like I'm not 100% unfamiliar, but I'm mostly unfamiliar. I don't know. What's so great about it besides, what's so great about Discord? I hear a lot of people raving about it. So what's up with that?
Okay, so basically Discord's it's kind of like YouTube, how YouTube used to be, where there's different community groups. And basically, if you're in one community group, you'll see what everyone's chatting about. There could be like 30, 40. On some Discord groups, there's like 1 million people. It originally was made so gamers could communicate, like people that use Steam. But now it's like there's Discord groups for almost anything. So there's gardening Discord groups. There's backpacking Discord groups. There's Bigfoot Discord groups. And so FKN's got one, and Pure Truth 100's got a Discord group. And so basically it's just sharing videos. It's kind of like Skype, honestly. It's not much different than Skype, only you can't go live on cam, basically.
So it's like the old AOL chat rooms?
Yeah, it's kind of similar to that. But you can share videos.
I will also say Derek also has a channel. So
okay, so
he's on there too.
Okay, well, I'll look at it some more.
My comp is taking forever because in order to get into Discord, I had to open up Firefox because that's where I have it set up, and I don't have my password handy. So
Oh, so we got a couple of new people in the chat hangout right now. Is that you, Tidor? It looks like What Truth Community already recognized you. Is Q real? That's you? Is that you, Tidor? I'll give you a wrench if that's you. If you guys know who that is. I don't recognize the new channel. I know he's got a new channel every other day, so Tidor's cool. But I'm noticing several new people. Go ahead.
I said I finally got into Discord and sent the link to Sovereign Humanoid 33.
So Sovereign Humanoid asked, who's Derek? Derek is the guy who created the Gematrinator channel. And Amy, you know his last name. You know more about him if you want to just
Derek Takuri. And yeah, and he started a channel called Gematrinator. And after some of his vids, which basically just show the numerical relationships of things in gematria and numerology, date spans and other things, he was getting almost, some of his vids went semi-viral. And all of a sudden, YouTube swooped in and gave him 3 strikes for bullying and harassing. And he lost his channel. So he put up Gematrinator _85_ is his new channel. And he also has his personal channel, Derek Takuri.
Okay.
So that's Derek.
All right. So is Q real? Or is Q real? That's Tidor. I'm going to give you a wrench, bro. Make sure you're all your channels are wrenched up when you come and visit because you're a good dude and we love you and trust you around here. So you get a wrench. And Scooby Doo is in our chat. Scooby Doom. Scooby, you don't have to be a moderator if you don't want to use the wrench, but however, if you have a wrench, you can drop a link in the chat if you want to. So there's additional reasons to have a wrench. So I like to fill my chats with wrenches. It makes it super easy to keep, trolls away because there's so many fucking wrenches. Trolls don't stand a chance. But also, like I said, you can drop a link if you want to drop a link in the chat. So okay, so Laz, go back to your story. Tell me that story where so you said that this alien character incident, that experience that you had was the only time that you that didn't ask you for anything. So all the other times you were asked of something.
Well, not just me. The other entities that came into the ceremony either not asked me directly, but asked other people. In other words, they came in because they wanted something. They wanted some kind of help or whatever. So they didn't ask me directly all the time. They asked to the general people that were there.
Tell me more about this ceremony.
Well, they different kind of ceremonies. It's some people just anywhere, like a small warehouse or house or whatever, just sitting around and calling out for the spirits to come in and use one particular individual as a medium, so we can communicate with the entity. And when that happens, the individual gets possessed by that whatever spirit possess their body, and so we can talk to the entity.
Tell me more about that, the ritual, the logistics of how the ritual goes down.
Well, like every other meeting, you set up a day and time or whatever. Like a reunion, you go over there. There is like a small circle or a big circle, depending how many people come in, and one seat in the middle. There are some candles, some
Wait, one person sits in the middle of a circle of people?
Yeah, yeah.
Why? Who? How do you decide who sits in the middle, and why does somebody sit in the middle?
The way that is decided is pretty much volunteer, and the reason they sit in the middle is because that's the individual that the spirit is going to possess the body of, as used as a medium.
Okay. Okay, so you have one person sit in the middle, you have a volunteer sit in the middle, and everybody else is in a circle around, and take me through it.
They start calling the spirits or whatever. Some people do it from the Christian point of view. Some people do it from the African point of view. The individual get possessed and pretty much start asking questions, start acting strange. And there are people that they are elders in that group that then move forward to the individual sitting down in the center and start trying to figure out if the individual is pretending that he's possessed or if it's real possession. Because some people are, it's like in everything else, there are people that are frauds and pretend to be possessed.
Sure.
So there is a system of deciding if the individual is pretending to be or if is it really there. There are certain tests that you can do to make sure that it's possessed.
Okay. I'm interested in what kind of tests, but we'll come back. We'll circle back to that in a second. How did you get involved with this group of people?
Well, I was remember I was born in Cuba, and this kind of things are very popular out there because our ancestors come from Africa, from the slave Yoruba people and Lukumi. So Santeria, that kind of traditions, is very popular there. And like I told you, since I was a little child, I was interested in finding for myself. I don't want to go to by hearsay. So eventually, over the years, I got accepted into these groups and was invited to participate. And later on, I went through different ceremonies that, in the Santeria tradition, it will make me a priest, an ordained priest of that tradition. So here I am.
So what does that mean to be an ordained priest in that tradition?
It means that you passed a ceremony to become to be called, let's say, a priest in that tradition. You went through a ceremony that is called crowning the head, and it is about a week-long ceremony. There is a lot of details that I really don't want to get into it. It's taboo for people like me to talk about that because there are some secrets. But pretty much is you go to the ceremony, there are things that you have to do. And at the end of the day, when you're done with the ceremony, there you consider a priest on that tradition. And some people go, in my case specifically, I was told to learn the oracle and practice oracle readings, and that's what I did.
Okay, oracle readings?
Yeah.
Tell me about that.
The oracle readings from the Yoruba tradition are 16 quarries, quarry shells. The one that you call, the scientific name for it is moneta, which is the same quarry that used to be money back in the day in China, the Hawaiian Islands, and in Africa. Because back then, money was a seashell. And that's the same that we use for the oracle. And there are 256 paths of the oracle. And depending on the position that the shells land, he'll tell you one path or two paths. And then you have to learn those paths and tell the one that is being consulted what the oracle is telling the individual about the past, the present, or the future.
And okay, from a skeptic point of view, I have to ask, how do I know, myself or anyone listening who's totally unfamiliar with these rituals, ceremonies that you're talking about, how does anybody know that what you're doing has any validity in reality?
Then you will be in the same position that I was 40 years ago when I started asking myself these questions, and I went over there and find out for myself.
Okay, your answer sounded like a Christian apologist. You sounded like someone who says you just have to believe. And
no, you have to try it.
Well, a Christian apologist would say the same thing, that you have to accept Jesus in your heart, you have to pray, and you have to be sincere, and then God will reveal himself to you.
No, that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is do have to walk the walk. And if you don't, and you don't have to believe me, I don't want anybody to believe me. I don't want nobody's approval. That's why I went over there and tried for myself.
Okay, so you tried it for yourself, and you're going to tell me now that you believe that this is a very real thing?
I'm trying to what? Prove myself?
No, I'm just asking you, are you telling me now that after you've tried it, that you are convinced, that you believe that this is a real thing, that something very real is happening?
I don't have to believe it. I know. I was there.
Okay. So you're convinced that this is a real thing, that this is a real spiritual practice, that you're actually engaged in communicating with other entities from other realms of wherever, maybe alien, maybe ghosts, maybe spirits, demons, angels, whatever. So you're 100% convinced that this is a real thing, that this is actually a real thing, that there's a real realm, a real place where other spirits or whatever are able to somehow interact with people.
Well, yeah, a little more complicated than that, but mainly that's it. Yeah.
Because I mean, as a skeptic, I have to, until I experience it for myself. And
exactly.
It's not like I live in a vacuum. It's not like I've grown up my whole life never trying. And as I've mentioned before, I was raised Pentecostal. I was raised in a church where people were speaking in tongues. I've been through the ritual, the laying of hands, where I had my ritual where everybody gathered around me and put their hands on me, and they were all speaking in tongues. And by the way, I was a child and I was surrounded by adults, like 10 adults all the way around me, all had their hands on me. By the way, this is sort of a traumatic experience for a child, 8 years old, who really doesn't understand what's happening. Everyone around you is speaking in tongues, and all I wanted was them to fucking stop. So I pretended, I just made up some gibberish, hoping that they would stop, and eventually they did. But what I'm saying is that I don't live in a vacuum. Throughout my life, I've experienced various, I guess I'll call it spiritual things. I won't go into detail. Nothing spectacular. And it's not like I discount everything. Okay, I know that there's something weird going on, and I think everybody knows there's something else to this realm that we exist in. So I guess my question to you, because I mean, I've tried, okay? I tried praying, okay? I was raised Pentecostal. I was a believer as a young man. Nothing ever happened. I got no messages from Jesus. God never revealed himself to me. As I grew up, I became atheist, and I've tried other spiritual things. I've tried communicating with other spiritual. I've even tried the Stephen Greer, the CE5, the Close Encounter 5 thing, where you're supposed to call and mentally like meditate and call these alien craft to show up and blink their lights at you and shit like that. The CE5 thing that Dr. Stephen Greer does with his little group. I've tried all kinds of shit. Nothing. I've never experienced anything. So that leaves me in the position of being a full-on skeptic because I've never, ever experienced anything at all. No prayers were answered. Jesus never revealed himself. I never saw alien, never saw Bigfoot, nothing.
Sorry to hear that, man.
I guess I'm sorry too, because a lot of people say they've got crazy experiences, and I wish I had something to draw on. You know? I mean, we got Gandalf in here, and Gandalf is an active Bigfoot researcher. Gandalf has like trail cams. Gandalf has gone out in the woods with trail cams, and he's kind of big into the Bigfoot thing. And one of these days we're going to do a Bigfoot show, maybe next week because I won't be here. And it's not because I won't be here, but Amy and Gandalf, if they want to do a show next week, they can do whatever they want without me. So Gandalf, tell me, bring us up to speed, bro. You're an active Bigfoot researcher, yeah?
Well, I got into Bigfoot in 2006. Like, I was always kind of interested in it. But then again, I see where you're coming from, Ruth, because you're skeptical. Unless you have your own encounter or your own experience, it's really hard to accept stories from people that have had their own encounter, because you will only believe something, I think, is if you have your own encounter with it. And that's the angle I think you're coming at stuff from right now, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm a Bigfoot researcher. I got a trail cam set up. I've done it on and off for the past few years. My last trail cam broke. I just got 2 brand new trail cams for about $100 at Crappy Tire. I got 2, so $50 each. So I got them set up. I'm rotating the positions where I'm putting them at. And yeah, I'm 100% into Bigfoot. Since 2006, once I had my own encounter, I didn't ever see the thing. My buddy is the one that ended up seeing it. And I've told you guys my Bigfoot story, right?
I don't think so.
No way, man.
Yeah, I don't think I've heard it.
No, you just told me that you had trail cams and you actively would go out and look for. I don't think I've heard you have an official Bigfoot story?
Yeah, so I'll tell you what happened. It was 2006, so the early summer of 2006. And at this point, I think I might have been in grade 11 or something like that, maybe grade 11, end of grade 10. But so I'm down at this pond, and it's not too far from where I lived back then, and it's kind of like a really wooded area. There's streams and rivers, there's swamps, all in this area. It's kind of like in the Oak Ridges Moraine of Ontario. It's a beautiful, beautiful place where there's tons of kettle ponds. So it's this really, really wooded area, and it's like oak and maple trees. It's not piney. Like when people think about Canada, they think of this barren northern wilderness. It's basically like upstate New York or Ohio or Michigan, basically southern Ontario. So it's a really beautiful place, and it's up in the Highlands, not too far from Toronto, actually. And we're all just camping down there. You know, we're drinking beer and we're camping. And so it's maybe about 3 o'clock in the morning. Most of my friends have gone to bed at this point. And it's maybe, I think there was 2 or 3 of us that were still awake. Yeah, 2 or 3. We were just standing around the campfire. I went over and we got a huge pile of wood that we had stacked, and I go and grab some wood. And I'm drunk, not totally smashed out of my mind, so I'm still quite aware of what's going on. And so was everyone else. And I take a log, and if you're familiar with Bigfoot research, this will make total sense what I'm about to say. So I took a log for some reason or another, and I threw it into the pile of logs. And it made a loud, echoing, cracking noise that echoed throughout the forest. And it's kind of like in a valley where there's like this riverbed. And so it's this echoing noise that went throughout the forest. And maybe 2 seconds later, there was this loud noise, like this loud screaming noise. Now, this sounded like it was the body of a horse, when you hear a sound, like you can tell if it's a little raccoon, or you can tell if you're listening to a wolf, or you can tell if you're listening to a horse. Whatever it was a screaming sound, and whatever it was the size of a horse. It had to have been how loud this was. It sounded like a loudspeaker, maybe 50, well, in American terms, it was maybe about 250 feet away from us. And it screamed, and we all just froze, looked at each other. For some reason or another, I was ballsy. I took up another log, threw it into the pile of logs, and it made another echoing, cracking noise that echoed throughout the forest. Maybe about a half a second later, the thing replied back to us. But this time it sounded like it was pissed, like an angry, screaming noise. And we all just freaked out, and we stayed up. I think we stayed up almost till dawn by the time we finally all passed out. And the next morning, maybe around like 8 or 9, one of my buddies who was passed out at the time when the three of us heard this, he wakes up, and I remember him waking up, getting out of the tent, and he goes out to he's just like, all right, man, I'm going to go take a piss. And he was outside the tent for maybe 15 seconds before he runs back into the tent, curls up in a ball, and starts shaking. And he just keeps repeating, there's something outside by the river. And he was completely passed out. He would have had no idea that this happened. And we went out there, and he said that he saw something big and black, which looked like its arm was resting on a tree watching our tents. And the noise that we heard that night, it was years later. I was searching on YouTube wondering if anyone else had ever heard a similar sound to what I heard that night. And the first sound, when I typed in Bigfoot sounds, the first thing that came up was something called the Ohio Howl. And the Ohio Howl is exactly what I heard that night.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, because you played the audio from the Ohio Howl, and I was going to ask if what you heard was the same thing. So you're saying, yeah, you heard virtually the same noise?
The exact same noise, but what I heard, different from the Ohio Howl, it sounded like it was pissed. And the Ohio Howl, if you listen to it, it sounds like it's maybe, in American terms, again, maybe 500, 600, 800 feet away. Whatever I heard that night with my two buddies was maybe 250, 300 feet away from us at the most. It was really, really close to us.
So are you aware that there's a Bigfoot lawsuit going on right now in California?
No, tell me, man.
I could find her name. I don't remember the woman's name offhand. But if you want to hear the interview, go on to Fade to Black Radio or Jimmy Church Radio on YouTube. And I think it was about maybe a week ago, he interviewed this woman who is a Bigfoot researcher out in California and Northern California around, she visits Washington area as well. She has had a couple of experiences. Apparently she either has a YouTube channel or her friend does. She's been interviewed by several people. Jimmy Church interviewed her last week. The lawsuit is that she was attacked and or she had some kind of very, very, very close encounter experience. And she says that her daughter has some video footage. She said it was 15, maybe, forgive me, maybe it was 75 feet away. So they got it on camera once or twice. And I think there may have been an attack that may be involved, but she contacted the authorities to tell them that that she had this sighting and this experience. One of the experiences was that she found this what she described as like a Neanderthal type of a man up in a tree, and so she contacts the authorities. And then she gets a house visit. They show up at her house and they interview her, and she tells them the story. And they basically say to her, "Well, what you saw was a bear." And she's like, "No, it wasn't a bear." Blah blah blah. But in the interview, she said she was on the phone with these people, the authorities, like the Wildlife and Fish and Game Authority. And they were like, yeah, what's your address? I'll be there in 5 minutes. And so, in other words, the way she described it, it sounded like they were super interested in her story. And when they showed up and heard her story firsthand in person, they basically told her what you saw was a bear. And so she has this lawsuit going on where she's like suing the California Wildlife Fish and Game authorities because apparently they're not recognizing or they're not doing anything about this, what she considers a very real experience and real sighting. And she said they found footprints and a huge footprint that even had slide marks in the mud. And they got some video and some audio. And, just go on to Jimmy Church. When we get done, when you get time, go on to Jimmy Church or go on to Faded Black Radio and go check out that interview. Because I got a feeling she's full of shit.
Well, when it comes to especially the parks and wildlife departments in the States and in Canada, have you ever looked into Missing 411?
Oh, yeah, David Paulides.
Yeah, a lot of times they play these games where they really like to joke around. They like to make it as difficult as possible when it comes to these types of events.
Yeah.
And whatever reason that is, like Paulides gets into what he thinks is going on, that it's basically a massive cover-up. And that's why they try and make you sound as crazy as possible when it comes to these things. And I don't blame her for launching this lawsuit. Like, somebody's got to do this.
Oh, well, David Paulides is ex-LA law enforcement.
Yeah, but he's not like a Fed. He was basically just a detective.
Well, look, I'm not saying the guy is bullshit. I'm not saying he's a shill. I'm only saying it's a yellow flag. Keep it in mind. Right? Because, when we talk about shills on YouTube, one of the markers is your ex-military, your ex-law enforcement, your ex-CIA, and, it puts a dirty stain on your name because, you used to work for the man, and so how are we supposed to fucking trust you now? Right?
Yeah, and he's got that hardcore cop mustache. I see what you're saying.
Have you seen any of the Missing 411 movie that they produced?
It was basically just a documentary. I thought I was hoping it was actually going to end up being a dramatized movie, but I watched.
Well, yeah, it was a documentary. I
watched like the trailers for it. I don't think I ever watched the whole thing.
Okay, well, I've only seen a few trailers. There are several out there. I haven't seen the whole documentary, but and I haven't read his books. I've listened to several David Paulides interviews, and apparently, according to David, tens of thousands of people go missing in state and national parks. However, and some of the stories are, they're part of the official record, and they're super fucking creepy and compelling. Like a 5-year-old child goes missing, and they find him alive, a week or so later, and the kid has traveled, 15, 20 miles over the most rough fucking terrain you can imagine. And, some of the stories is like, one of them I remember is this small child was found alive in the middle of a boggy area on a little bit of a high ground, a patchy spot of high ground. And the only way to get to this bog from all the way around, it's like going into Mordor, right? It's a bog, it's marshy area all the way around. And this kid was found on this little dry spot, and his clothes were completely clean, not muddy, not wet. So it's like, how the fuck did he get there?
Yeah, when you get into the Missing 411 stories, a lot of them all tie up in different ways. One common thing with the Missing 411 stories, why he compiles the certain ones that he does, is a lot of the stories, people will search an area, they'll search it again, then they'll search it again, and they'll come back, and the
then
person
boom,
that they're looking for is there.
it's right there on the trail.
Yeah, and another strange inconsistency is people always take off their clothes for some reason or another. They always disrobe.
Or they're inside out.
Yeah, and it's just these weird coincidences.
People, sometimes they find them dead, and they find them that their clothes are put on inside out.
Have you ever, if you look at the missing 411 map where the people are disappearing, you'll notice that there's no one missing in South Dakota, there's no one missing in Nebraska, there's no one missing in Kansas. It's always, or in Saskatchewan, other than northern Saskatchewan. If you look at the map, it's always people disappearing in wooded areas. It has to be wooded. Something about the forest is what leads to the people disappearing.
So tonight's show title is called The Butterfly Effect. And I titled it that kind of on purpose, and Laz found it very interesting. Laz, tell me about this guy Lorenzo that you left me a comment. Well, who was it you said? Who was it you said in the comment section?
Lawrence. Yeah. Edward Lawrence, I think is his name.
Was it Edward Lorenzo or Edward Lawrence?
I think that was Edward Lawrence, yeah.
Okay, so I'm totally unfamiliar. Bring me up to speed. Who are you talking about?
You unfamiliar? You know the butterfly effect?
I'm familiar with the butterfly effect. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So no, I don't know who Edward Lawrence is.
What do you call the butterfly effect?
The butterfly effect is, well, there's the original concept of the butterfly effect. I think it's Japanese or Chinese. And an old philosopher who said, when a butterfly flaps his wings, the tiny little puff of air that he creates contributes to the other air currents that all grow into a hurricane, basically.
Yeah, if he flap the wings in Brazil, you get a hurricane in Texas. That's right. What he said.
Okay, so the idea is, it's a valid idea. I mean, from a philosophical and even a physical standpoint, it's a valid idea. So when I refer to the butterfly effect, I think of it in terms of human interaction, okay? So it's like, if I say something to any one person or group of people, that whatever I say to these people or any person has an effect on that person, and it changes the way they think in some small way, sometimes big ways, but usually some small way. And then that person will think of something that they normally would not have thought of had I not spoken to them. And then their thought pattern changes, and maybe they come to a new realization, or maybe they change direction in their lives. Maybe they research a new topic, and maybe their whole life changes. And even if it doesn't, it changes in a small way. And what happens is, later on, they themselves will later on interact with somebody else as a result. And that interaction will be a little different than it would be if it wasn't for me in the beginning. And so that this other person interacting with the third person changes in a small way. And so the third person is now affected by the thing that I said to the other guy. Do you know what I mean? And I've seen this.
So you're looking at it from the psychological point of view.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. But this guy, the way this guy pointed out, it was the chaos theory. And he, I think he discovered, if I'm not wrong, there is a video out there from Arthur C. Clarke that explained this a lot better than me. Or you can research chaos theory. That's also the name of the so-called butterfly effect. You can research the Montebrot set. Also is interesting, which talk about fractal universe. And but I think this guy was doing some kind of research for weather system, weather. Yeah. And he discovered that there is a randomness to its chaos, that nature is not pretty much determined, but a butterfly in Brazil can create a hurricane or a tornado in Texas. So, but I mean, if you want to research that, there is just go for the chaos theory and go from there.
Well, I'm slightly familiar with chaos theory.
Okay.
And I am familiar with the butterfly effect as it was originally put forward. The flap his wings in Brazil and hurricane on the other side of the world.
Okay.
So, in a physical sense, I totally understand. I totally get it. But like I said, I am, and you recognize, I do personally think of it in a psychological term, as in terms of like human interactions, and I've seen this happen.
But isn't that propaganda? Isn't that the rumor or the gossip theory, or isn't that what happens to us all?
Exactly.
Okay. Yeah.
Absolutely. And it just reminded me of the show that we did with Cerebra Sauna, and I titled the show Perception Management. That's exactly the whole purpose of propaganda. And John Rappaport did a report on Jimmy Church maybe 8 months ago, maybe last year, where he was talking about the CIA, the Operation Mockingbird program, where the CIA will put out a news story, and what they do is they sit back to see who picks it up. Because although the CIA is closely affiliated with many media outlets, they're not associated with all media outlets. So what they do is sort of a data correlation experiment. What they do is they'll put out a story on one of their lower tier outlets, and then they'll just see who picks it up and runs with it.
Oh, there is a nice movie about that. I think it's called Whack the Dog or something like that.
Yeah, Wag the Dog. There's a book
Yeah.
called Wag the Dog.
Yeah. Anybody that is being here in YouTube and have followed people's videos in the so-called truth community, they're pretty much familiar with that. I'm assuming, because that's part of the programming and reprogramming and social engineering, social conditioning. It's all as cancer.
Yep. Absolutely.
And also, not only that, there was rumors also, and it's when they try to let's say present somebody as a guy trying to present an agenda when the guy not really presenting any agenda. So they're all kind of rumors and shit like that. Playing with people at the psychological level and playing games. So yeah, I'm familiar with all that, especially here in YouTube. So I'm like a cat on going through broken glass when I come into YouTube. So I know how to weigh my round. I know what I'm being played. I know what I'm being some people are trying to be hypocritical and trying to gaslight me or try to cheer me so I can keep on going. I seen them. I seen them all.
Yeah, you have. This is one of the things I like about you, and one of the things that makes me want to speak to you often, and that's why I'm in your chat, and that's why you're on the show. You've got great insight. You've been around. So I want to back up. I want to digress a little bit. You've been into the spirituality thing. You said you've been doing like videos on it and talking about it for about 3 years, and but you said from Cuba, you started off doing these rituals and these experiments with these people and contacting entities and whatever. How long ago was that? How old? How many years have you been really just engaging in that kind of activity and researching and looking into and thinking about those kind of things?
Really engaging into it? I mean,
how old were you when you got started, I guess?
Oh, when I started around 5 years old.
Oh, really? Okay.
And but seriously, with a purpose, when I was around 16, 17 years old.
So pretty much most all your life.
Yeah.
And then the internet came around and you had a chance to...
Well, I didn't have internet until probably about 10 years ago when I find out there's a thing called internet.
10 years.
Yeah.
Wow. I think I've been on the web since its inception, pretty much.
I never paid attention to the internet. I was working too hard to pay attention.
Well, in the beginning, it was hardly worth the time. I mean, it took like, a minute, like 60 seconds. If you were in like an AOL chat hangout.
That's how I started. I got involved in the Spanish version of AOL and chatting and all that, and that's how it got me hooked into the researching online instead of going to libraries or borrowing books from people and all that.
I remember how long it used to take just to send a single fucking message in an AOL chat room.
Yeah. Especially when you have
and then 5 minutes later you get a response.
Yeah.
You're just staring at your screen waiting for that response.
Yeah. Especially when you try to get a girlfriend online and you don't know if she's thinking about it. She's thinking about it. She just give you the boot because you say something wrong and you biting your nails and say, is she gonna say yes? She's gonna date me or not?
Yep. They were hookup rooms is what they were. Okay, so what was it? Remind me, if you can, remind me what you were talking about on your last live stream about religion and spirituality. I popped in and we chatted for a little while, and when you were broadcasting live it was early last week, last Saturday or Sunday or something like that. Do you remember specifically the topic?
Not really. I don't remember exactly.
Okay, so you're from Cuba, so Spanish is your first language.
Yes.
And you speak English pretty damn well. Do you speak any other languages?
Don't speak it per se, but I understand some Russian, Portuguese, French. Understand it a little bit, but don't not really. It's a lot worse than I do English, so that could tell you something. Yeah.
How different is Portuguese to Spanish? They're pretty close, right?
Very close.
Okay. How different is the various other languages, like the South American Latino languages? And the reason I ask is, as you know, I'm a contractor, and sometimes I'll stop at Home Depot and I'll pick up a couple of, we call them Mexicans. It's just a general term. I know they're not all Mexican. They're Guatemalan, they're Honduras, they're Nicaraguan. I know some of them are
Latin Americans. Yes, Latin Americans.
They're all Latin Americans.
Yeah.
And sometimes I'll pick up 2 or 3 guys, and one will be from Honduras, and one will be from Nicaragua, and one will be Mexican, and they have trouble communicating with each other.
Yeah. Especially the ones that there are from Aztecs and Mayan backgrounds that they speak the indigenous dialect, and they intermix the indigenous dialect with Spanish. So yeah, sometimes they can. I seen 2 people. I used to have a lot of employees too, and and sometimes they will speak in indigenous language, and I'm trying to figure out what they say because I thought that was a Spanish, and they say no, Las, that's not a Spanish. It's our Indian ancestor mother language.
Oh, okay.
But eventually we'll figure it out. We find a common language and we get the job done.
Okay. Well, I was hoping to spend a little bit of time tonight on etymology, and because you are multilingual, I thought that it would be a good time to bring that conversation into the forefront. Since you have knowledge of multiple languages, I thought you'd be a good input on that.
Well, not knowledges. I know how to communicate with people in 2 different languages, but I don't have any background knowledge. I learned pretty much like a parrot to English. People,
well, nevertheless, Nevertheless,
I don't know the definitions. I don't know the definition. I know, but the words are used for.
oh, well, okay. I'll tell you what. I'll get you started. Buenos dias. It means good day.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's pretty simple, and most lay person who doesn't speak anything, most Americans understand Buenos dias means good day.
Mm-hmm.
Buenas noches is good night. So
Yeah.
So noches is night and dias is day.
Yes.
So dias, the word dias,
Yes.
is day.
Yes.
And because we're on the subject of religion and spirituality, when we talk about like deity,
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and
dias come from theos. You know, the theos from the Greek, and the Latin dios, which is
Right.
God. Which is God. So.
which is God, but it's also the sun. It refers to the daytime. We're talking about the sun.
Yes, but eventually it got a little bit changed. Buenos dias, let's say at the beginning of the Castellano language, they used to be called God go with you, that kind of thing, you know, or like a kind of let God be with you. So it got changed over a little time about Buenos dias. So that's the most common use nowadays.
Sorry, I got a little bit sidetracked by Allison's comment. Allison said she took some Spanish in high school, but she had trouble communicating with someone from Venezuela. That's the same thing that Laz was saying about what him and I were talking about only a minute ago, about that some people use their native language, their mother language, and they mix it with the Latin, and that's why there's difficulty from even the Latin American or the Central American countries, Nicaragua, Honduras, where they're so closely located to each other, and yet the languages can be so different that there's a little bit of a trouble communicating because they're mixing their languages between Latin and their original ancestry, Indian or Mayan or mother language that they refer to.
Mm-hmm.
So Buenos dias, and I want to bring it back to the concept of God as a solar deity, because when you research religion, ancient religions, ancient cultures, almost always, it's like so often, it's 80% or more of the time, the gods that you're researching and learning about turn out to be solar deities. It's always the sun.
Mm-hmm.
And so I just noticed the connection between dias, as in day, Buenos dias,
Mm-hmm.
and deity, the word deity, as in God.
Mm-hmm.
And again, I just want to bring it back to the concept that God is the sun.
Okay. So that's your God?
No, I'm just telling you that this is I mean, when I research all these things, it always, to me, always points to the sun as being the original and first and major and, highest order God so far. Like Jesus is clearly a solar deity.
So how do you complement that the most used calendar in the world is lunar, not solar? If they worship the sun so much, how come they follow a lunar calendar?
They also, okay, that's a good point. And the moon is another god. It's the female. It's the feminine aspect.
Yes.
The moon is clearly...
So that tells you right there, you answer your own question, that maybe these people are not worshiping the sun. They are worshiping the two natures of our reality, masculine and feminine.
But what we're living in today is a mixture. It's a solar deity. It's a lunar deity. It's the Saturnalia. It's the Saturn.
Gaia, the Earth. Yeah.
It's sometimes it's Mars and sometimes it's Venus.
Yeah. The Elohims.
It's the gods. Those are the planets.
The Elohims. Yeah, the seven visual Elohims, the seven heavens. Yeah. The seven beings of light.
Yeah, like for instance, everybody is familiar with Star Wars. Even Amy, I know, has seen Star Wars. And Amy doesn't know any movies, and she never watches TV. But I know Amy knows Star Wars.
Oh yeah, I know Star Wars.
So if I said Luke Skywalker, in terms of etymology, what does that mean to you?
The sun. Luke Skywalker, walking across the sky, the path.
Yeah, but Luke. Don't forget Luke.
Yeah, Luke is a name for the sun.
Luke is Lucifer.
No, Lucifer is also a name for the sun.
No, Luke is Lucas, is Lucius.
I'm trying to tell you that you might not, you don't have to agree, but Luke,
I'm listening.
Luke is another name for the sun, just like John is another, just like Joe, just like other names.
Paul, Saul, Sal.
Yeah.
Those are all names for the sun.
Yeah. It's a life giver. Without sun, we die.
Apollo, Apollonius. These are all spin-off names of the sun from the original Latin word Sol.
Yes. But then again, after you sit down with a teacher and they explain all that, they tell you, after you sit down with a teacher and explain all that, then he tell you, as above, so below. So if there is a sun out there, you have a sun in you. So when that happens and you understand that concept, then you start thinking that these people were not worshiping the sun. They are watching the sun, see the moving, studying how the sun behaves, so they understand themselves and find the sun in them.
Okay, so you're telling me that the name Luke, which is in fact etymologically linked to Lucy, Lucifer, Lucius, Lucas. The name Luke, you're telling me that's not Venus, that's the sun. Yeah.
Well, you can call the sun that, or the Venus, the part of the Lucifer, the morning star.
Yes.
But what happened is that in the Bible, people take it from the Bible. And what I had done is I had taken it from different traditions. And yes, the name Luke, pretty much every word that like you said, they have the L in it. It has some etymology back to the sun. Yes, the soul, like soul, the soul of the human being.
Okay. All right. Well, I'm just trying to figure this out because I always thought that Satan was Saturn and Lucifer was Venus, because according to astrotheology, the mantra or the theme of the astrotheology is that Lucifer, who in the Bible says that he wants to exalt himself above the Most High. The Most High is clearly the sun, and Lucifer is something else. And in reality, you can see the morning star, the bright and morning star, rise above the horizon before the sun. So it's the light bearer. It brings the light with it.
Yes.
And then Lucifer reaches the high noon position, just like it says in the Bible. He wants to exalt himself above the Most High. And then Lucifer is cast out of heaven, which means he falls back down to earth, like the stars do in the night when you see them rise and fall. So I've always understood Lucifer as Venus.
Yes. Well, if you look at it from the astrological, or you use the language to decipher that as the astrological, but if you also, if something come to you and said, okay, maybe they're talking about me. Maybe I am Lucifer when I try to use men knowledge, and I'm being brought down because I don't use I try to be like the Most High. So, like I said before, one of the things that you learn over the years is that the books are talking to the individual, that they use representations to send you a message. And if according to the individual degree of understanding, they will either see that they're talking about the sun in the sky, or they are talking about the individual. So we play the Venus in our life. We play the Lucifer in our life when we see the light which is the false light of knowledge of man, and then we are overwhelmed by the illumination of the universal knowledge, and then we have to be brought down again to again go through the process of life to understand that we will never be higher than the Most High.
Okay, so Allison Twist just said that in Greek, the meaning of the name Luke is light giving. So that brings it back to the sun. Now,
like I said, it's another name for the sun. Yeah.
Now the light bearer is the one who brings the sun, who brings the light, and as opposed to light giving, which would be the sun itself.
Yeah. Like I said, Luke is another name for the sun. But you said it was for Lucifer.
And then there's this curious passage in the Bible where Jesus himself says that he is the offspring of David and the bright and morning star. These are the words of Jesus in the Bible. Jesus says, I'm the offspring of David and the bright and morning star.
Yep.
So that's, to me, a little confusing. Is he saying that he is the sun, or is he saying that he is Venus?
No, he's saying he's the bright, the morning star. That's what he's saying.
Well, the sun is a star, which we understand today as a star, but back then, 2,000 years ago, they didn't know it was a star.
So we think
the sun.
So we think maybe they did know.
Say that again.
We think that way, but maybe they did know.
Okay.
Because we just rediscovering now, like I told you, we discussed in our last chit chat, that the scientists are coming up with so-called new discoveries, but all they're doing is rediscovering ancient knowledge and giving it another name, calling it something else. But our ancestors knew.
So throughout history, most of the gods in all of the ancient civilizations were solar deities. Most of them, not all. Some were lunar gods, some were stellar gods, some were what we today know as wandering stars, otherwise known as planets, because back then they didn't know they were planets. They just knew that they looked like stars, but they had weird motions. They had retrograde motions from our perspective. They would sometimes move backwards, and so they were called wandering stars.
Yep.
And we know them today as planets, and these is Venus, Jupiter, Mars, the main planets. So I find it extraordinarily interesting that today we all live under the system that pays homage to all these ancient gods in ways that most people overlook, like the days of the week. For instance, if you just take the days of the week, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Okay, Sunday is a dead giveaway. We know what day that is. It's the day of the sun. Monday.
Moon Day.
Monday is Moon Day. So we have the day of the sun followed by the day of the moon. Now, I've got some notes here. Give me a second. Let me pull up my notes because...
Miércoles, that means Wednesday is Mercury. Yeah.
Wait a minute. Wait. You said Wednesday is Mercury?
Yeah, miércoles.
Miércoles, yes. That would be Mercury. But in English, it comes from Woden. Woden's Day.
And Friday from Freya.
Freya.
Freya. Yeah.
Freya. Oh, and by the way, Freya is the wife
but in Spanish it's Viernes, which means Venus.
Oh.
Viernes. Yep.
That's right. See, I have a note here that does say exactly that Freya is Venus.
I told you I'm not that crazy.
Well, we're not really that removed from the ancient past. Like right now we're in August, right? Which is named after the first prefect of the Roman Empire, which was Augustus, right?
Yeah, but Augustus means 8.
Means what?
8. Number 8.
Number 8.
September is 7.
September is 7. October is 8.
I'm sorry, October is 8. Yes, you're correct. Yes.
So we're, in terms of Latin, sept, S-E-P-T, is Latin for 7.
Yeah.
O-C-T, oct, is 8.
8. November is 9. Yes.
N-O-V, Nov is 9.
Agosto is 6.
And
Is
Des
the
is 10.
And
It's
DEC is Deca, which is Latin for 10.
yeah.
So the September, October, November is 8, 9. It's 7, 8, 9, 10.
Yes.
And these are all the ember months.
Yes.
Which is the end of the year. That's why the September, October, November, December.
I made a video about that, about the ember months. Yeah.
Those are all the ember months where the leaves fall off the trees, and this is where we get the colors change from yellow, orange, and red on the leaves and the trees.
Or you use fire at home to heat yourself and
That's
all
right.
that.
And then winter comes, and you need a fire to keep warm, and it's the ember months.
Yeah, and that's pretty much what the symbology of Republican and Democrat. The Democrats are winter, Republicans are fire. Or
interesting. Which reminds me, something I wanted to say last week when we were talking more about the Bible and astrotheology. Something I didn't get to say was when Jesus was identified by Judas in to the Romans, when Jesus went into into the town, maybe it was Galilee, forgive me if I'm wrong, but when Jesus goes into this small town and he's identified to the Romans he's betrayed by Judas, and Judas goes up and kisses him to identify him, right?
Yep.
Judas, and I mean, I might do a screen share just to drive the point home, but if you just do a Google search for images of Judas or Judah, what you're going to find is orange is the dominant color. Judas is always depicted in orange or yellow. Okay? He's identified by this color on purpose, almost always identified by orange, which is one of the embers, because Judas represents Scorpio, which is the kiss of death. And I found out recently, this is a matter of fact, because I'm a fan of Jordan Maxwell, and I heard Jordan Maxwell and also Michael Tazarian years ago talking about that there's a scorpion that lives in the Middle East, only in the Middle East, that has 2 stingers, not one little needle tail, stinger tail, but a double stinger on the tip of his tail. And when you get stung by this particular scorpion, the wound that it leaves on your skin looks just like a pair of human lips. And that's why it's known as the kiss of death. And Judas is the kiss of death because he kisses Jesus, thereby condemning him to death in the Bible. And Judas is represented by orange in all of the religious paintings and artwork. If you just do a Google search for Judah or Judas, it's always orange. He's always wearing orange. Very rarely you'll see him in yellow in the paintings, but it's almost always orange. And it's because Scorpio at the end of the year, which is represented by the month of October, which is an ember month, which is the end of the year when the sun is dying, this is Scorpio giving the kiss of death. And so my best friend in the whole world is married to a Muslim woman. And she was born in Jordan, and she's full-blown Muslim. Speaks Arabic better than you speak English. English is her second language, and she's fluent in Arabic. And we're always talking religion when I'm hanging out with these guys, because it's one of my favorite subjects, and because she's Muslim, which is a different religion, and it's always interesting conversation. And I told her about this story of Judas and the kiss of death, and when I brought up the scorpion with the double stinger, she just starts nodding her head saying, yep, we got that over there. So it's interesting because I did a little research. I was listening to Jordan Maxwell talk about the scorpion with the double stinger. I went on Google and I started looking for scorpions with double stinger, and I couldn't find anything. So I wasn't able to confirm this. And then I'm talking to my Muslim friend, who absolutely confirmed that there is a scorpion in the Middle East that has a double stinger. And yes, when it stings you, the wound that it leaves on your skin looks just like a pair of lips. So this is where we get the concept of the kiss of death. This is why Judas kisses Jesus. Like, from a logical standpoint, the town of Galilee was so small, only a couple of hundred people, that everybody knew everybody. And when somebody famous like Jesus wandered into town, there was no reason for him to be identified to the Romans. They would have known exactly who he was. You know,
Well, if you look at it literally, yes.
No, I'm saying literally it doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense for Judas to kiss and identify Jesus to the Romans. It doesn't make any sense. He would have been known from day one.
Well, back then, and even today, when I go and meet my teachers, I kiss them. It's a symbol of honor. And first I lay down on the floor. They give me their blessings, and then I stand up and kiss them in the cheek. So yeah, it's back then when you're going to say goodbye to someone that was going to die, you kiss them and wish them good trip. So, but that kiss thingy, it has a little more. We can look at it different ways also. We can look at it as the ego. Because a lot of people don't know that Jesus referred himself in two different forms. He called himself the Anthropos, and he called himself the Emini, which have two different meanings. But in the Bible, they always call him the Lord. But he referred himself at two different words. One was Emini, and the other one was Anthropos. And you can tell that they're talking about two different individuals.
Well, one is this. Let me just guess, because I don't know the answer, but anthropos sounds like anthropomorphize, which means man.
Yes.
And the other one I'm going to assume is God. So he's the Son of Man and the Son of God.
Yes, that's why they call him the Son of Man, Anthropos. So I mean, I don't remember exactly. It was many years ago that I look into this, so a lot of people can research this and look into deep there. But they talking about pretty much what we already figured out in our own life, that sometimes we play a role, a personality in this earth, that we have to do things that we have to do to survive here. But that's not necessarily the individual that we are. So, we are a son of man, and we are also son of God in the spiritual form. So that right there, I tell you the meaning of the spiritual entity having a human experience, using the body as a medium to perform physical actions here in this earth.
So let me digress just a little bit. We were talking, I brought up the days of the week, and every day of the week is related to some sort of god or deity from the ancient times. So we have Sunday is the day of the sun, Moon Day, Monday. And what was it you said was Tuesday? Did you say Tuesday, or did you say Wednesday?
Tuesday in Spanish, I say Tuesday in Spanish Thursday in Spanish is Jueves, which is Jupiter.
Jupiter?
Yeah, Jueves.
Really?
And Wednesday.
Because, wait. Slow down.
Okay.
Thursday is Thor's day. It's the day of Thor.
Well, you say Martes. Martes is Mars, which is Tuesday.
Yeah, Tuesday is Mars, and this is what I have in my notes. Tuesday is Mars.
Thursday in Spanish is Jueves, which is, you can see it Janus Day, or you can see it as Jupiter Day.
Hang on, I'm going to write this down. What was the word the Spanish word you said for Thursday?
Jueves is Juves or Jueves.
I think that the reason is there's a difference between the Latin developed languages or the Romance languages, and there's a difference between the Germanic languages like English and German and the Scandinavian languages. I know for the Germanic languages, I believe Thursday is Thor's Day and Friday's Freyr's Day. So
That's Freya or Frigga.
Mm-hmm. So it's just little inconsistencies between the Latin languages, like Spanish, and English, the Germanic languages.
And it has to do also with the Gregorian calendar, too.
Wednesday is the day of Odin. Thursday is Thor's Day, which is Odin's son. And Friday is Freya, which is also Venus. And Freya happens to be the wife or consort of Odin. So the last days of the week, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, are all Norse gods. They're all Norse gods.
And in Spanish, Sunday is Domingo, which refers to the day of God. So in English, you got the Sunday, referring to the sun deity. And in Spanish, is Domingo means God. Days.
Okay, so Domingo, to me, I understand the dom, which is dominant.
Yeah, Dominus.
Which is Latin for Dominus, which means
Dominus.
God.
Dominus Day, yeah.
Yeah.
Which is almost the same representation of the English.
Which means
but
Lord,
the English,
or God.
The English, as far as I can tell, it has a lot of influence from Germany. So I don't find it amazing that English language has so many words from German, like ghost, for example, is come from German. So.
Well, I did a little bit of research with the small amount of time I had this week. I also found out that Odin is also, according to the Norse language, Odin is Tyr. Tyr.
Yeah. And if you change Odin for Eden, there's a good correlation there too.
You might be onto something with that. Absolutely. But I do remember, and I'm sorry, Gandalf, you can have the floor next. I just wanted to say quick, when I was researching Odin and I realized that his name in Norse language was also Tyr, it reminded me of a biblical city that was supposedly cursed by God, and it's still alive today. You can go and visit Tyre to this very day. It's still around. But anyway, it's one of those failed prophecies where God says, "I'll make you desolate in a wasteland, and no one will set foot on you, and you will sink into the water." And none of that shit happened. You can go to Tyre to this very day. But anyway, go ahead, Gandalf.
Well, it's just kind of the whole thing is our languages have changed so much in the past 200, 300 years. It's actually not common knowledge, but most of the North American, South American languages like Spanish, Portuguese, French, and English actually are much closer to the older versions of our languages. And things have just changed so much in the past couple hundred years. Even around 400 years ago, Old English used to be much different than it is now, and it was basically a vastly different type of speech that you would hear if you were to go back to England, maybe 400, 500, 600 years ago. You would hear vastly different sounding words. So like we're really disconnected from everything, right? So maybe even, I think maybe about 700 years ago, say you went to England, you would hear, okay, here it goes, Art Fedur u Art un Habanas. So that would be English. It's completely different. So stuff's really twisted. And if you hear that, like Art Fedur u Art un Habanas, our Father who art in heaven, it's really vastly different language that we're living with today than it was just a few hundred years ago.
I just want to respond real quick to Elise Jern in the chat, who said English now is a big mismatch. Yes, in a way that's correct. However, it's also correct that right now, our English language makes use of 60%. Now, get this, 60% of the English language is directly associated with Latin, the original Latin.
Oh, it is because of the Norman
Definitely.
conquest.
Two-thirds.
Norman conquest, basically.
Go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, just because of the Norman conquest, the reason that English is such a strange language is because it was originally a Saxon language and a British language, but then the Romans came in, right? And then the Normans came in. So it's a mix mash of all these different languages. It's actually not well known, but the British royal family didn't even speak English as we know it until the 1700s. For the most part, the English court would speak French and would never ever speak English as we know it today. It was French and the Norman dialect of French that the English royal family would speak until the German Saxe-Coburg-Gothas took over.
The Latin part of the English language most commonly is used in court because of these court names like court maritime law and all that. But it doesn't surprise me because if you look at Congress, you see the two fascia of the Roman Empire there, that they have the Roman law. So if that you have the Roman law going on in the United States, it's very common to see Latin words using in court. So yeah, we under Roman law.
Oh, of course, lots of different sayings that we have in our language is even pure Latin.
Yeah. But if you research if you see in the secular English that you use commonly outside or in court, you see the Roman influence or the Latin influence. But once you go into the theistic or the religious aspect of a conversation that we have daily, the Greek have a lot of influence. That can tell you a lot.
Well, if you remember from last week, I was talking about the original name for Satan or Lucifer was Halal.
Yeah.
So when the religious people today say hallelujah, they're paying homage to apparently Lucifer.
And
it's like saying amen at the end of your prayer. Without a doubt, you're saying amen, amen, amen ra. You're paying homage to the sun god.
Yeah, but Aaron, also I don't see a correlation between in the Bible. I'm talking about the Bible. I don't see a correlation getting Lucifer and Satan together. It's like they're talking about two different entities there. Am I still here?
Yeah, you are. I'm sorry. Please repeat that.
Oh, I was like, what? Did we cut out or something?
In the Bible, I don't see a connection being made between Lucifer and Satan. It's like there's two entities they're talking about.
Yes. That's why I said earlier, I've always been under the impression that Satan was Saturn and Lucifer was Venus.
It's the Egyptian Set. It's the darkness that eats the sun.
Huh. Okay.
You know, when the sun goes, it's darkness. So the sun set. So Set, Saturn, Satan. So it is, you know, when the sun is not in the sky, someone has to rule.
Yeah.
So if the sun is not ruling, someone has to rule the night.
Speaking, okay, that's a good segue because I'm going to go back to Star Wars now.
Yeah. The Force.
Don't go there.
Because
stay on target, Luke. Stay on target.
Because, hang on a second, where did I put this? Luke Skywalker.
Yep.
Okay, get this. Now, from the Proto-Indo-European, which is PIE, P-I-E, Proto-Indo-European language, Peter, P-E-T-E-R, Peter, or Peter, is father.
Father,
okay.
Yes. Pater.
Or padre.
Yeah, pater.
In Portuguese, it's pai, P-A-I, pai. That's in Portuguese, which is vastly different from Peter. So if you speak Portuguese, and someone else speaks Spanish, and they say pie, that doesn't sound anything like petter. So therein lies some of the difficulty. However, so in Portuguese it's pie, which becomes padre in the Italian and Spanish. But get this, in the Germanic language, the name for father is vater, V-A-T-E-R.
Mm-hmm.
And in the Dutch language, the name for father is vader, V-A-D-E-R.
Well,
Okay.
do you know in the Vedas, there's the ancient stories of how there was this great battle that took place in the time of the Vedas, which was roughly recorded around 6,000 years ago. In their prehistory, 6,000 years before them, so the time roughly around when Göbekli Tepe and the Lemurian cultures existed in the Pacific and in Eurasia. There's the story how the Vimanas were launched, and they were skyships that could travel from the ground into the air, and how the skyship Vimanas went and traveled to the moon and did war with someone called Vatar, who was this guy who was ruling over the moon. He was like a dark, malevolent spirit or person. It's not really clear. But they were taught on Earth how to build the Vimanas to travel and fight Vatar by a small creature called Yota.
Yota, that's right.
Yeah.
And there was this war that was seen in space 12,000 years ago above the moon, and the battle lasted for over a year. You could go out any night and you would see this battle taking place over the moon that apparently lasted an entire year.
Well, that reminds me of the Thunderbolts project, because that's how it was viewed, because the planetary alignment was very close to Earth. The planets used to be a lot closer. They were big and prominent in the sky, and that they were doing battle with each other. And so that's where we get a lot of our stories, is where these planets interacting with each other with electricity, sharing thunderbolts between each other and shit like that. But
maybe they built Birmanas and went to fight someone named Yota.
Let me continue on with this. Darth Vader. Okay, so Vader is father. And we know that Vader was Luke Skywalker's father. Now, Darth Vader, Darth, D-A-R-T-H, actually translates into dark.
Mm-hmm.
It's a mixture of the word dark and the word death, is where the word Darth comes from. It's a mixture of Darth and dark and death. So Darth Vader is the dark father, or the father of death. And Luke Skywalker, being the solar deity representation, he walks across the sky. He's the sun, and he has to do battle with the dark father, or Set. And here we go again with the same old mantra, the sun doing battle with the dark.
Yep. And loses their arm, and he fights with the green laser. And Darth Vader fight with the red laser.
That's right, and the green laser represents growth. It's like the
life.
It's like the pan god, or the god of the forest, the green god, the green giant.
But Luke loses his arm, and Odin loses his eye.
That's right, and Odin becomes this, as just like Jesus says, "If thine eye be single." It's the single eye. It's the third eye.
Yes.
So Odin with the one eye represents the single eye.
Yes. And Luke without the arm is another symbology of the same thing.
Interesting. Good stuff. Good stuff.
I mean, it's a beautiful story.
It is. I mean, it's a beautiful story. Absolutely. The Star Wars, they did such a good job retelling this old fucking story.
And it's our story. So it's beautiful because we are there. We are here now living it.
Yeah, it's our story. It's not his story.
It's part of our growth.
But at the same time, it is his story. It's history. Sure is. You know, doing a little bit of research into etymology, I accidentally found out where the word sex comes from. And I know this is just slightly off topic, but the word sex is actually etymologically linked to insect.
All right. Why
I
would
didn't know
that
that.
be?
Yeah, I didn't know that.
Yeah, how does that progress?
They have the same origin of the original word. So the Proto-Indo-European word sec, S-E-C, means to cut, where we get the word dissect, where we get the word section and segment. And
Right, right.
so the word segment is what we use to describe the different parts of an insect, because they have a head, a thorax, and a torso. Right? So
Right.
insects are divided into portions because of the way they're constructed. And the Latin insectare, which means to cut into parts. And then we have another Latin word called insectum, which is a creature with parts. And so sex is basically dividing humans into genders. So we've divided ourselves and identified the division between male and female into genders, is where and also in the animals world, the division and the recognition of the division between male and female, which is dividing a certain group. In this case, it's humans divided male and female, and animals divided male and female. So it's a division, it's a sectioning where we're divided by gender. And this is where we get the word sex.
Because in Spanish, a bug, an insect, is called insecto, like you said. But also six is called sexto, which is sexto, sexto. It means the six.
Yeah, in what is it, French or German, the word sex means the number 6. And insects are identified by having 6 legs.
Yeah. That's what I said, six. When you said you found something about sex, I said, well, it's probably six, the number 6.
Yeah, I just realized it. I didn't even occur to me until you brought it up that insects, like, arachnids, spiders, and crabs, which are arachnids, they have 8 legs, but insects all have 6 legs.
And that goes back. And that goes back to the who was the one that painted that church in Italy that you said you went to?
Oh, the Sistine Chapel was Leonardo.
Leonardo painted that with a guy with 6 fingers and 6 toes. I mean, that's weird there.
Oh,
that's weird there. And you say you were there, so I wish I could go there.
I was there, but they weren't letting anybody take any pictures because mostly because of the flash, because the flash cameras put off a UV light, and the UV light has an effect on the paint. And
right.
with millions of visitors, they can't have the paint being deteriorated by all the flash bulbs. And even digital cameras put out flashes. It is a little bit dark in there, so if you try to take a picture, your camera's usually gonna flash, and so they don't allow pictures. But you can go online. I mean, there's no question. You can see it. You can go on and see the painting. But they weren't letting visitors.
Why would Da Vinci do that? I mean, he didn't know that people have 5 toes and 5 fingers. He didn't know that. Why would he paint that in a church?
Oh, well, I don't know, except that he was clearly an initiate.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Besides a genius, the guy was an initiate. And I understand that Da Vinci had access to ancient Egyptian text. He was initiated into other cultures in their little secret societies as well, just like Plato was also an initiate into
Socrates.
Well, okay, hang on. Because there's actually some question as to whether or not Socrates ever even existed. We have such a small amount of information on the life of Socrates that it's actually in question whether or not he even existed. I'm not saying he didn't, but I'm just saying, I just want to throw that out there. But I also found another interesting etymological word that I think you guys might find interesting. The word curd, K-E-R-D, curd. That word means heart. So the Latin word, I'm going to try to roll my tongue here, recordare, which is recordare, which in Old English is record, which means to repeat. And, today in the current English, when we say, I learned it by heart, which means I remember it.
So recordar in Spanish.
Yes, you're better.
Recordar in Spanish is to hit the chord. Record, a chord in the guitar. But recordar means remember.
Yeah, it means remember.
Yes, but actually the word is two words. Re means again, and chord is cuerda, which is the chord in the guitar, for example.
Oh, cool.
So that's what the symbolism of the word is. Like recordar is to hit the same chord all over again.
Oh, cool. See, that's what I knew that you would be useful because you have...
Yeah, I know how to be a useful idiot. Yeah.
No. It's because you have a knowledge of Spanish that none of us have.
Yeah.
No, that's super interesting. That's awesome. So yeah, the word Kurd, and of course in the Middle East, in Iraq, we have a tribe of the Kurds and the Sunnis, but the word Kurd means the heart, and where we get the word record is actually comes from the original Latin word for the heart, and that's why today we have a phrase or a saying that means to learn it by heart, meaning to remember it.
Yeah, that's pretty much a spiritual journey, to learn the concept by heart. It's a tricky thing.
And of course, we could go to some of the easier ones, like scribe means to write. It's where we get inscribe, inscription, and describe. If I was to describe a word to you, although it's not writing, it's a language, it's a speech, it's to speak and to define. And then we have, when you go to the doctor, you get a prescription where he has to write down what he wants you to take, what drug to take. Inscription, inscribe.
Program come from also to programmer, which is go by the script.
Interesting. Programmer means to say that again?
Program is to read the script. That is to go by a prior written script. That's what program is. When people see on TV, people reading the script, they go in by the program. Programmer.
Ah, okay, interesting.
Grammar.
Ah, cool. One of the words that I find really interesting is the Latin word ment, or mente.
Mente.
Yeah. Which translates, where we get tons and tons of words from that original word, mente. Right? We get government, to govern the mind, to control or rule the mind.
Yep.
And then we get entertainment.
Yep. To entertain the mind.
To entertain the mind. But then we have these curious words like apartment and cement. Now,
and judgment.
Judgment, that's right, to judge the mind. Now, apartment reminds me of compartment, where we compartmentalize, where we section off and cordon off parts of the mind and control sections of the mind to compartmentalize. So that's like an apartment. So an apartment is a small dwelling among a larger building, which reminds me of compartment. That's what a compartment is. In fact, apartment comes from compartment.
Well, it's so similar, the Latin language, to everything that we speak today. Like, I'll give you my rudimentary knowledge of Latin. For example, libera tutem ex inferis. So libera, what does that sound like?
Liberty. To liberate. Tutame.
Ex infares.
Ex means non. Infaris means to not infer.
S mean is.
But think about it.
Wait. Did you say X or S?
So libera tutem ex infares.
X.
X.
Infaris, which means to not infer. Am I correct?
Basically, what I'm saying is save yourself from hell. In English. Libera tutem ex infaris.
So what's tutemet?
Yourself.
So liberate yourself
From hell. Or save yourself in the Latin from hell. But think about it. Libera, so liberty in one way you could say it. Ex infares, so so it sounds like fire almost in a way, eh?
Well, infaris to me makes me think of the word infer. I could be wrong, but go ahead. Infaris to me sounds like infer. It also sounds like inferno. So yeah, it could be related to fire. Absolutely. You're probably more right than I am, but go ahead.
But yeah, so basically, libera, save, tutemet, yourself, ex, from, infares, hell.
Infaris, so that would be inferno.
It means hell in the Latin. But doesn't that sound similar to something like fire or something like that?
Latin,
you know what I mean?
inferno for Latin is infernos.
Infaris sounds like inferno.
No, but they will say inferno. They will not say infare. You know, they have a word. They have a word for infernos. Why would they use infare?
Mad Pie Man said inference. So infaris is very, very much, it's very Latin sounding word for inferno. But isn't there a Latin word, inferno?
Yeah, that's what I said. Why will, if they want to do hell, when they want to say hell, they will not use infare. They will use inferno. So infare is something else, not inferno.
That's why I thought it sounded like infer, and that's what Mad Pie Man said. It sounds like inference.
Yeah, in the English, yes, it does.
And always the I don't know how you call it, the in before the word, like infare, in always means inside. So the pronoun in, I don't know if it's called pronoun, is referred to in. And I want to finish before I forget that when you were talking about the mente and the judgment and all that, it reminded me of the title of your video, because it's psychological warfare. It's a butterfly effect.
Yeah. I was trying to tie together the word cement, and it's not too difficult, because we even use the word cement, like to cement this into your mind, to really solidify, to harden this idea or concept in your brain. So cement means to harden the mind. Concrete, cement.
Yeah.
Makes sense to me.
And then again, I was struggling with apartment, and then I thought of compartment.
Yep.
Apartment is the word we get from the word it's built into the word compartment, and it just means, and if you think of an apartment building, you live in one small portion of a large building, which is in fact exactly compartment.
And your body could be called an apartment, a house for the soul.
So entertain, like entertainment, the word entertain can be broken down. Because if I'm not mistaken, the word tain is another reference to the mind.
And you want to hear something funny?
I'm going to go ahead. Yeah, go ahead. I'm going to look this up because my memory is a little foggy on this.
Before you go, listen to this. In Spanish, entertainment is entretenimiento, and the last word, miento, is lie.
Ah, okay. Okay. So, tain, the Latin word tain, which is tenor and tenet, where we get the word tain, means to hold. It's a Spanish for tenor, means to hold, which comes from the Latin tenere, and it's from the same root word tenere. We get the English tenet.
Not the Spanish that I speak. The Spanish that I speak, to hold something is to agarrar.
So the word entertain, tain means to hold. So enter, go into. Tain means to hold, and ment is the mind. So go in and hold the mind. Entertainment. Go into and hold the mind. Isn't that interesting?
That is interesting.
Entertainment means to go into and hold the mind. Mad Pieman says attain. So what's the prefix at? Let me go back. What's the prefix at? At. Germanic, Old English, AET, Old Frisian, Old Norse, Old English, Germanic origin related to the Old Frisian and Old Norse and at, from an Indo-European root shared by Latin, add to. Add to. So attain means to add to. Huh.
That makes sense.
The at means add to, and tain would be to hold. So whatever you're holding, you're going to add to that. That means attain, which means acquire. Cool. Boy, I should start a Patreon. You guys are getting a real education out there.
Really, really.
This has got to be worth something. What did Big P say? Let me see here. News, northeast, west, and south. Yes, that is correct, Big P. Let me see. I'm trying to keep an eye on the chat because I know I got everybody engaged. Allison and everybody are dropping all kind of AET, at, et, of the age of English. Entrance. Entrance. Let's look at entrance because we already know what that means, but let's just look at the etymology here. We know what trance means. Let me just see what the etymology of N is. Let's look at that. Late 18th century, the letter N represent as a word since it is approximately this width. What? Huh.
That didn't make sense.
The letter N represented as a word since it is approximately this width.
Well, in Spanish, the word transit or trans is transit, which is what we call when an individual is possessed spiritually by another entity. So he's in trance. just like it's pretty much used as when you say that a train is in trance between 2 points.
You mean like in transit?
Yes, but that's trance. That what Rufus was talking about. Trance in Spanish is trance, which is what we call when someone is being possessed temporarily by a spiritual entity.
Is that why they call them transsexuals?
Oh dear.
I don't know. I'm just putting 2 and 2 together here.
And then getting 5, I guess.
So, in keeping with the theme of this evening of religion and etymology, do you guys know where the word devil comes from?
No.
Evil with a D.
Now, that would, that's intuitive. It seems obvious.
Mm-hmm.
However, and I mentioned a little bit of this last week, that Yahweh is a mixture of an air god and a volcano god. Because Yahweh, being an air god, the ancients didn't know exactly that air was particulate matter. But they did know that you would die if you didn't have any. They did know that you would die if you couldn't breathe. And so breath, they knew breath was air, and they considered that spirit. So everything with the breath of life. And there's all kind of examples in the Bible about the breath of life. God, in the story of Noah, kills everything with the breath of life. There's an ancient Semitic spell called the golem spell, where you take a clay figurine and you breathe the breath of life into it, etc., etc. The ancient Hebrews didn't consider newborn babies to be human beings or live entities until they breathed their first breath, that kind of thing.
Can I just interject here? It's not just the Hebrews. Apparently, there's a number of
Sure.
Religious texts that state that the spirit enters the body at first breath.
Yeah, okay, fair enough. Fair enough.
Just thought I'd throw that in there.
Not in the Yoruba, no.
But the point is, we're talking about air, because this is how gods become omnipresent. Because if your God is the God of the air, and air is literally every fucking where, this is how gods become omnipresent. Okay?
Right, right.
If your God is a volcano god, then he sits right there on that mountain and he doesn't move. And he might belch some smoke and some fire, and he might even erupt and kill the townspeople, but he doesn't get to move around. My God is above that. My God is the everlasting sky, the air that surrounds everything. So this is how gods become omnipresent. And the Muslims have a spirit known as the jinn, which are known as wandering spirits, which we know today to be dust devils, little miniature tornadoes in the sand. And this is why the jinn, in etymological terms, relates to genie. And this is why genies are always coming out of a bottle. And anytime you ever see a genie, he never has legs. He always has a little tornado for his legs. And the reason the genie comes out of a bottle is because alcohol, when it evaporates, you can see the evaporative alcohol. You can literally see it come out like smoke. And this is why we have beer, wine, and spirits. When you go to the liquor store, it's classified as beer, wine, and spirits. Because spirit was air, smoke. This is why we have burnt offerings in the Bible and shit like that, because you were supposed to pass through the fire, blah, 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 into the smoke. Smoke and air and evaporative shit, that was all considered spirit. Okay? So when it comes to the jinn, which are dust devils or dirt devils, they were called wandering spirits. They were known as deviant air elementals. I'll say that again. deviant air elementals. This is where we get the word devil. Because a dust devil would wander through, if you were a Bedouin traveler and you traveled and you set up camp in little tents in the middle of the desert, and a little dirt devil comes along, and if it wandered through your campsite, it would rip your fucking tents apart. And so they were deviant air elementals. They were devils.
So why is that in Italian or Latin they call it diabolos, and had nothing to do with air? In Spanish they call it diablo, which had nothing to do with air. How is that?
I don't know. I don't have all the answers.
Because diabolos, bolos in Italian, as far as I know, at least in Latin, bolos is a ball. It's the fear. And diablos in Spanish could be said that hablo means speak. And I don't know what the D stands for, but diablos don't have absolutely nothing to do with a genie in the bottle or
you can't speak without air. You use breath to speak.
Yeah,
True.
but what hablo in Spanish have an H ahead of the word hablo.
Yeah, but you should know through etymology that consonants are interchangeable, vowels are interchangeable.
Compound, yeah.
Yeah, D probably means of.
Like earlier when I was talking about the word padre and patre or peter, the letter P translates through etymology in other languages. It translates into the letter F.
Is that transmute? Transmute. Yeah, that's the word I was looking for.
Yes. So the letter P transmutes into the letter F, and I think also the letter V.
The V, the B and the V are,
and that's why Peter or Petter becomes Vader, because the T becomes a D, and the P becomes a V, and the E becomes an A. So you have certain consonants that are transmutable. So Petter or Peter or Padre translates into Vader or Vetter from German to Dutch. Vetter in German and Vader in Dutch comes from Petter. So the word, the letter P can be the letter F can be an F or it can be a V, depending on the language that it's transmuted into.
Have you done this research with mother? Is what you did with father? Have you done the research in mother?
I haven't done the specific research, but I do know that mother is madre.
Madre in Spanish and mama and all that. I mean,
it's M-A.
Very universal,
from Mary.
Very universal.
And this is where we get maritime law. Everything that's M-A, mama.
And the C, mar means sea in Spanish.
Yeah, so Allison Twist, she just said mater, M-A-T-E-R. Yes. Mater. It just made me think of matter.
Yeah, it's matter. It's matter. And magnetic too.
That's right. Magnetic is mag, M-A-G.
That's why
Magdalene, Mary Magdalene.
L is the masculine aspect of the creation power of God, and magnetic is the feminine side. So electromagnetism.
Wow, cool. Yeah, because I do know that Magdalene, Mary Magdalene, is the feminine. Mag is where we get magnetic.
Magneto, yeah.
And Magdel, Magdel. So you're correct. The L of the masculine is built into that. Magdalene.
And I think that the name for Mary in the Bible is not even Mary. It's Miriam.
Oh, it might be. I know that Mary means high priestess, and I know that Magdalene means knowledge.
Yeah, and then you got Matt, which is mathematics. That's where the mathematic word comes from math.
Oh, you said, did you say maps as in MAPS?
M-A-A-T, math, from the Egypt.
Oh, Mott, as in
Yes.
Tiamat.
Yes, and mathematics.
Okay, so mathematics. I was thinking of map as in MAP, maps.
No, not the. Well, maybe too.
Well, think about it, because we're talking about
Yeah.
Mother Earth, and a map is cartography.
And I was talking in Freddie today, and he was inviting me to talk in his Slack chat, and Scooby mentioned about a palm reader, about the lines that we have in our hands, and pretty much all of us have an M line in our palm of the hands.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah, we have the M, we have the cross, we have the fork, the three fork. Oh,
Yeah, Mott. Greatest potential said Mott and math.
yeah.
And,
That's what I said.
yeah, Io said Virgo is referred to as Mary. Io, we covered this last week. Virgo is the Virgin Mary. Clearly. Without a doubt, the constellation Virgo is the Virgin Mary, and is also known as, particularly among the Freemasons, is known as the High Priestess.
And let me ask you, Aaron, what do you make of the Ethiopian and Orthodox Russians that worship or represent Mary as a black woman?
What do I make of it?
What do you think about that? Why would they? Why would Russians, Orthodox, Christian Orthodox or Orthodox, use a black Mary instead of a white Mary?
Maybe they know something we don't.
Yeah, they come from the Coptic in Egypt, so Isis was always portrayed as black. So they continue the tradition, I guess. I mean, I'm guessing here.
I know that Isis is also known as the Alpha and the Omega.
Yeah.
Isis is crap. I'm trying to dig in my old memory here. The Babylonian goddess
Ishtar.
Yeah.
Astarte too.
That's by the way.
Astarte. Yep.
By the way, that's where we get the word asterisk.
Yeah.
The asterisk is the star. It's the pattern.
Yep.
The symbol is a star, and that's where we get the word asterisk. It's the Eastern Star.
Asterisk.
Which is also why, by the way, when Muslims have to face east to do their prayers every day, they always face east because the rising star, the rising sun. The sun rises in the east. Astarte. Correct, Allison.
Yeah. And then that's how we got also the word minister, which is a mini star. In church, they got the minister or ministerio in Spanish.
That's also where we get the word youngster.
Yeah.
It's a young star. And Io just said a minute ago that what was it? Sirius is Isis. That might be correct, I think.
I do believe that is true. That Sirius and Isis were interrelated.
I don't think so. Isis to me was a representation of pretty much the same as Maat. That is the mother of the world. That is truth, the one that nurture humans. If you know a little bit of a tradition of the Yoruba, there's not one identity of the female aspect. There is the one that give birth and always throw their children out, which is Oya. There is the one that love the children and teach the children. That's the sweet water. And there is also Jemaya, the sea, the one that raised the child. So Jemaya is always raising everybody's child. So, and Ochun, which is the funny one, which is the sweet one, they give love and all that. So, I mean, to go into detail with this, guys, you got to learn a little bit of Latin and Spanish and all that. He's going to help.
Well, that's why we have you on, bro.
Nah.
Oh, you know what? She's right. Passages in the pyramid text connected Isis closely with Sopdet, the goddess representing the star Sirius.
Yep.
Whose relationship with her husband Sa, the constellation Orion, and her son Sabdu parallels Isis' relations with Osiris and Horus.
But Horus is a sun.
That's correct.
You know,
Horus is
the sun. Osiris, which is the combination, the compound word of Horus and Isis, is Osiris, was a male entity, which is the father of Horus with Isis.
Yes, and the offspring is always a male child.
Yes, and Isis collected all the parts from Osiris, but then collected the penis, and she made a golden penis. So I whatever the pyramid test interpretation people give, I really don't see the connection with Isis and Sirius, which always Sirius constellation was.
Sirius is the dog star.
Exactly, was represented as a dog.
It's the brightest star in the sky.
Yeah. I don't see the connection with Isis.
I do.
I do too.
How?
Well, first of all, through astrotheology, the brightest star in the sky would certainly hold a prominent position in the minds of the people who were creating these tales.
Mm-hmm.
And the word Sirius actually contains the letters of Isis. All the letters are contained within the word, Sirius. So Isis is ISIS. There's two I's and two S's. All the letters are in the word. So etymologically, it looks like it could easily be linked. And when I look it up, it says so right here. Passages in the pyramid text are connected Isis closely with Sabdet, the goddess representing the star Sirius.
Okay.
So if you want to, hey, Wikipedia is not always the most reliable, but on things like this, it's pretty good.
Because I know that a representation of Isis today's is Mary. So Mary is the sea. I don't see the connection with Isis with the Sirius star. So maybe I should check.
Maybe we got our connections bungled up.
Oh yeah.
I do know that in
Hey Jethro, welcome. Go ahead, Amy.
In the Dogon tradition, Sirius was very prominent, and I think that there was some connection with Isis going there too. What was it? Robert Temple. What was his book? The Sirius Connection. Excellent book. I highly recommend it to everybody who's interested in this sort of thing who hasn't read it. And I might decide to reread it again someday. But there seems to me, I recall that there was some mention of a relationship between Isis and Sirius in there.
Yeah, because they discovered when they went to investigate the Dogons that they already knew there is a Sirius B. There is a star that is not perceivable with the naked eye, but they already knew it exists.
Yes.
That's correct.
Also,
they also knew about Sirius C.
Actually, there is a Sirius C. There's three stars.
Yeah.
And they knew about all three of them.
Yeah. And that goes back to the Yoruba, what I was saying about the three sisters.
Oh, interesting.
and the Thunderbolt project use as a, I think the avatar or in their picture or whatever, they use the mask that the Dogon used to do an annual.
It's not just the Dogon, but the Native Americans have a kachina.
Yep. Which is probably the same thing that Gandalf was talking about, the Brahmana. The kachina and the Brahmana, yeah.
It's a plasma field, which appears to be what it looks like, because they've done these experiments in the laboratory with electricity and plasma, and they get exactly the same symbols. And if you consider the Thunderbolts project thesis, where the planets were very close to each other, and you have huge electrical differential between planets, that you would have plasma fields between the two that would look just like what we see in the laboratory, because electricity is scalable. It's the same no matter how big or how small.
Very true.
Well, we can still see that. I guess we can see that in the remnants of that, or at least the remnants of that, and we see the Aurora Borealis. We can see a little bit of remnants of that combination of electromagnetic, relationship of other planets.
Speaking of scalable electricity and Thunderbolts project, I want to share something with you guys. Now, let me know if when you got my screen.
I got it, bro.
Okay.
I see it.
Okay, so this is the Thunderbolts thesis right here. This is the planetary alignment that they talk about. That the red dot in the middle is Mars, and the white little corona around the red dot is Venus, and then the yellow is Saturn, and then there's a white halo, which is the atmosphere from Venus in a plasma field, because these planets are very close and they're very aligned to Earth. Okay, everybody follow me so far?
Yep.
So check it out. Time, Mars would oscillate between Earth and Venus. So what you're looking at right now is when Mars gets close to Earth, it starts to shed some of its material, some of its atmosphere, and even some of its dust, and even some rocks, because of the gravitational pull of Earth being much larger. And Mars would bounce back and forth. It would oscillate between Earth and Venus. It would get close to Earth, and then it would go back to its alignment. And when Mars got close to Earth, you would see patterns like this. What does that look like right there? You see the star and you see the halo, but Mars, look at that red trail. Now, they created this thesis because of all the research in symbols and all the ancient symbology and rock art and petroglyphs and hieroglyphs and all the research that they did. Now, I stumbled onto something kind of remarkable, and I've shown you this to you guys. The Eucharist, the glorification of the Eucharist. You right?
Right.
Okay. Now, I stumbled onto something else very recently, and I think I've got it over here. I hope I still kept it. I wonder if I put it in here. Yep, there it is right there. What does this look like to you? The goddess Kali with the tongue.
Yep.
Always with the tongue. Kali's always got her tongue sticking out. It's always a big red tongue. Now look at this.
I'd say there's a fair similarity going there.
Where did it go? Where did I? Which one? Which page was it? There it is, right there. I'll try to put them side by side.
Oh, the Cali picture to me resembles more a lava coming down in the volcano that picture you got going there.
So in the Thunderbolts thesis, they're talking about Mars as it approaches and gets close to Earth, starts shedding material, atmosphere, and dust. And it's always this red tower or phallic-looking thing. It looks like that.
Yeah, I don't see the resemblance to the Cali child picture you got there.
See, I think that what this is depicting is, who knows what exactly it's depicting, but it could be a number of different things, some kind of phenomenon that took place in the night sky.
All right, but consider this for a moment. Kali is the goddess of destruction. Always with the tongue sticking out, big red tongue. And look what's on the tongue of Kali over here. Look at the tongue. It's the symbol of the thunderbolt. It's the ancient thunderbolt symbol right there on the tongue. Now, over here on the left side, the thunderbolts, this is their artist rendition. When Mars got close to Earth and starts shedding its atmosphere, dust and rocks and water and shit comes from Mars being sucked down to Earth, what do you think would happen to Earth? It would be destruction. It would be devastation. It would be catastrophe.
See, I don't think that this could have been Mars. I think this is possibly some kind of outer planet, maybe like something like Endia, that may be wandered in. Maybe we haven't detected whatever this object is. I'm not saying it's Narubu or something like that, but it's most likely a smaller extrasolar system planet that moved in and out or something like that. Because all the planets like Mars, there's no way Mars could have ever come in close to Earth like this in any point in history.
Why? Why are you so sure? How are you so sure of that? That's quite an assertion. How do you know that? How do you know it could never happen?
Well, because all planets are locked into their orbit. They move.
No, they are not.
Well, no. Some planets, though, are moving in different types of orbits. So most planets circle in a normal circle, but some are in an extreme ovular orbit where they can go far out.
That's true, but it's not permanent.
Yeah, but it's not permanent. So what if this is just some kind of extra, like, outer planet, like something far out, like a 9th or the 12th planet? Like, we have discovered planets, like outer planets, like Endia, for example. And what if this is just a different outer planet that simply gravitated far out and then came back in, and then now it's far back out again, and this is what they saw, and it came close, because there's no way Mars or Venus could have ever gotten that close to Earth.
Bullshit. Don't say no way. Don't say.
I'm going to side here with Aaron. I strongly suspect that things could have been radically different at some point in time, and things could have been substantially closer.
Yeah, but maybe you didn't hear what I said about the picture of Kali, that it looks more like a volcano throwing lava. So the tongue could be the lava of the volcano and the fire on top of that.
It could be. Yes.
A volcano is very destructive. So I don't see the correlation between the picture for Kali child and what you're showing there. I'm not saying that the Mars thing is going on. I'm saying that the picture for Kali resembles to me more a volcano that picture of Mars you got going on.
Well, this is just one rendition of Kali. Kali is not always shown with all the flames that I'm showing you right now. But Kali is always shown with her tongue sticking out. Big red tongue.
Yes, always.
But that picture of Mars that you got there, it resembles the linga of the Hindus, where they worship the female penis. That is more close to me, the linga, than the picture of Kali's child.
Okay. Because, I mean, I can do a quick search and pull up different images of Kali.
Not Kali. Look for the linga, the one that they spill milk on top of it, the male aspect.
I'm going to leave that window open. Hang on a second. Let me get to my other page. I'll put that over there. Where's all my shit? I got too much stuff open right now. Let's do an image search for Kali just for shits and giggles. Oh, and by the way, Kali, we get a lot of words from Kali, like California.
Mhm.
Yep.
So for the most part, Kali is associated with fire and red colors, flame-looking designs.
Yep.
But every time her tongue is sticking out. No, maybe not every time. Almost every time. But Kali is the destructor. 8 arms. Over here, she's got 4 arms, but she's got a weapon in each hand. Kali always has the red tongue sticking out. Big red tongue. Look at how often her tongue is sticking out.
Look for a picture of a volcano spewing lava and lava running down through the volcano. You're gonna see the tongue.
Yeah, but you don't think, because I mean, seriously, in ancient times, if the Thunderbolts thesis is correct, this picture right here, this alignment where Mars is shedding material coming down to Earth, looks like a big red tongue. I think it does.
I do too.
I see a huge correlation. And if you consider this concept that Mars is shedding material to Earth, shedding material, dust and dirt and atmosphere and water, that would literally rain down on Earth, and it would be catastrophic. And Kali is the goddess of destruction.
Well, Roof, here I'm sharing comparisons between the size of the known outer system planets.
Hang on. I'll stop and you can share. Let me put this shit away. Sorry, give me a second. And you can have it.
It's just, I think that it's possible that there could have been a planet that came in between us, say, and another planet, maybe even in between Earth and the Moon. It's possible, and that would have caused huge gravimetric distortions on the surface. That would have sent off every single volcano on Earth. But this picture here that I'm sharing gives a proper size comparison to how big Earth is to these outer planets. That some of them, we haven't discovered all of them, but these are in the outer system. So these are what we know about, and a lot of them are on really strange orbits. So some of them are on like really ovular orbits where they come even in between, like it's known they've come in between Saturn at some point, but it happens every 1,000 or 2,000, 4,000, 5,000 years. What if there's some kind of planet out there in the outer system that comes in near Earth, maybe every 10, 20,000 years?
Or like the Nibiru tail of 3,600-year orbit.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
See, I just don't think that it was Mars, but I believe it could have been an outer planet, possibly.
I mean, it could have been. Clearly, it could have been. But let's not also forget that Mars in the Roman and Greek is known as the god of war. The Romans called Mars, and the Greeks called Mars Ares. And they were both the god of war. Mars is red.
Yeah, that's probably the reason, because it is red, though. You know what I mean?
And I also think that isn't Kali one aspect of a deity that have 3 different personalities: the destroyer, the preserver, and the builder or the creator? Isn't Kali one of those three personalities?
Yes. Kali, Vishnu, and Shiva.
Yeah. So you got three, which is the three mothers that I talk about. So not necessarily have to be Mars. That's what a volcano do. A volcano destroy first and then create islands.
Okay, you're onto something there. That's good.
And if you put a picture of the volcano spewing lava running through the volcano, it will look like a tongue, a red tongue coming down the mountain.
Okay, you got me there.
And if you look at the picture that you have with the fire around the eyes, that's what the volcano do. It spews fire all over the place.
Interesting. Could be.
Well, it's possible that that's what happened when, say, one of these outer planets came close to Earth. Maybe it came between Earth and the sun. Who knows? You know what I mean? Maybe it came between Earth and the moon. Passed by so close that it triggered off all the volcanoes. But because anything coming this close to Earth, say in the distance, would mess up the entire Earth, because Earth is locked in with the moon. Like our gravities are matched basically, and that everything depends on the moon, the tides. One object coming in between us or near us would throw Earth completely off balance, and it could trigger off hundreds of volcanoes.
Maybe it did. Maybe that's what Earth got the tilt.
Whatever
we
happened,
got our 4 seasons.
Yeah, whatever happened instigated a lot of destruction, and Kali is associated with destruction.
So is El in the Bible, which is electricity.
That's right. L is electricity. Mag and is magnetism.
Yep.
So we were talking earlier about Mary and the Mother Mary, the Ma, M-A, the Madre, being associated with maritime, which is, you'll hear a lot of people, especially like Jordan Maxwell and others, talk about maritime law, which is the dominant law in the world, the maritime law. And in law, the law goes back to, well, it goes back before, but I'll go back to the Hebrews, the ancient Jewish or Semitic traditions. And one of the things I wanted to talk about briefly was, and Gandalf, I didn't mean to cut you off. If you had more to add on that topic or on those images, feel free to, you can have the floor.
Oh no, I wanted to actually hear what you were going to say.
Well, when it comes to law, like we have test, when you go to school, you take a test every Friday. We have, when you go into a courtroom, you have to testify and give your testimony. And in the Bible, they give testament. And I know that Amy knows where the root word, the etymology, comes from. I know you know this, Amy.
Yes, I do.
I just want to see if anybody else does. You guys know where testimony comes from? Testament? Testify?
Testa means head.
Testa?
Oh.
Wait a minute.
Yeah.
Wait. In Latin or Spanish or what?
I think in Italian, testa, and I think in Latin too, testa means the head. In Spanish, it's pretty much the same thing. It's testimonio. Also in Italian, the testes is the men's reproduction part.
That's right.
Okay.
That's right. It's the testicles.
Yeah.
because in the ancient Jewish or Hebrew legal system, under their system of law and order, when you were brought before the town elders or the priests or whoever was in charge, and you were accused of something, or if you were accusing someone else of something, you came into the courtroom and you gave your testimony. You came to testify. And when you did this, you put your hand on your balls. You held your testicles in your hand.
Yep.
Because if they found out that you were lying, you would lose your fucking testicles. That was the
Yeah.
And they would grab their balls and they would look at you in the eye and say, I'm fucking telling you the truth. And they held their balls in their hand because that was the penalty. This is what they offered. If you catch me lying, if you think I'm full of shit, here's my nuts.
So that's where the saying comes from, I got you by the balls.
Yes.
What the fuck?
Also the Hebrew, when they're going to pass the blessing to their first son, the first son had to put their hands in the bosom of the father, and that's how in the Bible, when the old man is dying, pass their blessing to the son, give everything to the son.
So absolutely, you would hold your balls in your hand because that was what you were prepared to put up for ransom. That was your, that was your penalty. If they caught you lying, you'd lose your balls. And in the ancient times, and especially in the Bible, a woman is only worth half of what a man is. In law, in a courtroom, a woman's testimony is worth half of a man's. And in the Bible, a female slave is worth half of a male slave. So, and when it comes to law, for the most part, women weren't even considered. They weren't allowed to testify. It took it took multiple women to equal one man's testimony.
If we still use a law, it will be hard to find a politician with two balls.
Yes. Very difficult.
So my point is that this is all about the masculine aspect. This is the men who went to court and testified.
Well, you still say stuff like, wow, the balls on that guy. Shit, we haven't even evolved that much from these ancient times.
Oh, you know what? I just looked up the etymology of testa. It says that its origin is Latin. It's tile, shell, 18th century. Now, that's not really very old, 18th century. But it's telling me that it's Latin. It literally means tile or shell.
That's weird.
Huh.
Now, you did say earlier that, and I know this to be true, that shells were a currency.
Yeah.
Seashells were currency.
Seashells, yes.
So testa means to tile. It means tile, comma, shell.
Well, I'm almost 100% sure that in Italian, testa means the head.
I got Testa. Is that the right spelling you're thinking of?
Yeah.
You know what? Let's just try this for fun. I'm going to do the etymology of testicles.
For example, what do you call the chicken? What the chicken have in the head? What do you call that? The red flame that the chicken had in the head. I forgot in English.
The comb?
The comb.
Yes, we call it cresta.
Crest.
Yeah, or crest. Right.
Yes. But it's cresta because it's in the head. A crest in the head.
I was just gonna say, like, if somebody were to come across this hangout just like out of the fucking blue, and they hear you say,
"We're talking about balls,"
I'm gonna look into the etymology of testicles.
Oh, check it out. Check it out. I looked up etymology of testicles. It says late Middle English from the Latin testiculus, diminutive of testis, which means a witness. To
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Yeah.
to witness, a witness.
So hold on to your balls next time you go to court.
Yeah, really.
I don't think the judge would appreciate that very much, unless he was Jewish.
Which most of them are.
Well,
Mhm.
I don't know. They're all Masons. I don't know if they're Jews.
A high percentage are, because a high percentage of lawyers.
Well, what do you do in the,
Jewish.
what do you do in the tennis court? In the tennis court, you play with balls.
In a court, on a court. You
Yeah.
play with balls on it. And
Yeah. You play with balls in baseball and football, and we're always playing with our balls.
Balls to the
Baseball,
wall.
basketball.
And that's where we get the phrase, the ball is in your court.
Yes, sir.
Yep.
Somebody said that in the chat like 2 minutes ago, man. Who was it? Who was it again? Oh, KT Brown said that. Okay.
Why does it keep sounding to me like somebody's got sheep around them?
Frogs. It's me.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so
Huh?
we got a few minutes left, and I want to digress a little bit with the words omniscient, omnipotent, particularly omniscient. What the fuck is that?
That's
It's
the
a frog.
frogs.
Let me hold on. Let me mute. Hold on.
Oh, you got tree frogs? Okay, never. That's cool. That's cool. Don't worry about it, lads. That's cool. You don't have to mute.
It's a little bit annoying for people that are not used to it.
Okay, so omniscient, which is a compound word of omni and scient, or scient, scient, which is where we get the word science and scientist.
Yep.
Scient is Latin for knowledge, which, by the way, so is the word Sophie. Like my Muslim friend went to Turkey recently. She had vacation in Turkey, and she visited the famous Hagia Sophia.
Uh-huh.
So the word Sophie or Sophia is also a word for knowledge, because that's where we get the word philosophy.
Yep.
As philosophy.
Mm-hmm.
So the word for God, which is omniscient, he knows all. He's omniscient. Scient.
I thought that was related to the eye, that he sees all, like seeing all.
I see a correlation. It doesn't mean that you're right or I'm wrong.
No. I'm saying that I see a correlation. Yeah.
No, it's just another correlation. So omniscient is omni, meaning all or complete, and scient, which is where we get science or scientist, scient, which is Latin for knowledge. So science is a method for gaining knowledge. Omniscient is
All-knowing.
is all-knowing.
Yep.
How about sentient? Because that also correlates to the sound.
Sentient. Let's look that one up. You got dueling tree frogs.
They competing.
They're gonna have some tree frog sex here in a minute. All right, I already lost it. What was the word?
Sentient.
Centiient.
Omnisentient.
I spelled it wrong. It's with an S.
Yes. I was going, wait a minute,
Early 17th century, from the Latin sentient, feeling, from the verb sentire, sentir. It means feeling. But-
that kind of surprises me.
Okay, it's a compound word, so let's look up tient.
Because people call us sentient beings, to humans.
Tiente. French tiente, see tint. Let me see. I'm not getting anything right off the top here. That's cute.
They're agreeing with you, Aaron. They're agreeing with you. Let me mute a little bit.
No, you're totally fine. I love tree frogs. It's cool, man. You're fine.
I do too. They sounded like sheep to me.
Let me try this Wiktionary. Tient. Tiente. It's not giving me any definitions.
Is it sentient or sentient? Is the T with the first part or the second?
The T was with the second, if I remember. It was compound. It was SEN, and then a dot for the compound, and tient. Not used in plural form. Latin, from the Latin tinctus. Masculine plural tients, feminine plural tientes. It's not giving me any definitions. Well, it does refer to feeling, as according to the meaning of the full word.
Hmm.
Well, in Spanish, feelings are sentimientos.
So all this is really doing is giving me the separation between the masculine and the feminine from tient to tientes.
Yep.
Tinctus, from the Latin tinctus. Interesting. I don't know.
Shut up.
They are cute. They are cute.
Yeah, that's adorable, Laz. Just leave that alone.
Okay.
See, it wanted to spell it differently. I-E. When I broke it up, it's T-I-E-N-T. It's S-E-N space T-I-E-N-T. So when I just try to look up T-I-E-N-T, the etymology, it wants to recorrect and respell it for me. All right.
Huh.
Well, let me see. We have patient, P-A-T-I-E-N-T. Well, that's interesting. Patient and sentient are with the T linked with the tient. I'm not getting much on this one.
Hmm.
Yeah, because it goes back to gentleman. In Spanish, people, we call gente, which is the same spelling, N-T-E.
Everybody in the chat is enjoying the frog. Jethro said his dogs are going crazy over over the frog sounds.
Awesome.
I'm going crazy.
Well, listen, guys, it's 3 minutes to 10 o'clock. Anything you want to add, Gandalf, or anybody?
Well, honestly, I like how we have these types of conversations. It's really a big change up from what I see anywhere else on YouTube and this network, you know what I mean? Most people, it seems, are just locked in on drama and other bullshit like that. I really love that we have these kinds of conversations, honestly.
Yeah, I'm really fed up with the fucking drama.
You know what? Nothing that we talk about, that people talk about drama wise between one YouTuber or another, is going to matter in 1,000 years. This kind of information, I think, will matter still at some point.
Yes. Well, I'm going to do my usual suggestion to people that they spend less than 2 hours with my playlist and consider taking back their sovereignty on our planet and sharing that information. And that's about all I have for tonight. Anyone else?
Laz, final thoughts, brother.
I agree with Gandalf. I think should be the future because it used to be the past, and we gotta come back to this chit chats. At least we learned something. I mean, I learned a bunch in this conversation, and why not? Why continue the same drama shit when we can do this? I mean, we have a choice. Why do the other?
I will say that the play that they're putting on is getting particularly boring. It's very repetitive.
Oh yeah.
And very predictable.
Oh yeah.
And I want to leave. I have left the theater really, and I'm off to create something better.
Well, I know Amy probably remembers. I've said this before. I'm getting tired of being led by the nose. I kind of feel like somebody has their finger up my nose and they're just directing me around and pointing me where they want me to go. I'm getting a little bit tired of hanging around the conspiracy water cooler and chatting about the latest fucking psyop. And I do look. I'm not putting down anybody who does that. Okay, I'm really not, because there is a tremendous amount of value in the people who do that work and the stuff that we have done, and because there are always new people coming onto the scene, and they need to have. You need to keep it relevant. You need to keep fresh stuff out there for people to latch onto and continue to wake up and help people to learn about the lies that are everywhere. And so there's tremendous value in, debunking official narratives and breaking down hoaxes. There's tremendous value in that, but I'm burned out on that shit. I'm just personally burned out on that stuff.
I can relate.
Well, I would like to
say bye to the frogs.
Yeah, I was just gonna say it. What I might do is just leave the live stream open and let Laz everybody shut up for an hour and let those frogs just take us out.
No way, man. I just want to go back in the house. I've been fighting the mosquitoes here for 3 hours.
All right, buddy. Well, I'll tell you what, Laz, you're a good man. You're a brother to us. We love you, and thank you. It's been a great conversation.
Love
thank
always.
You guys. Thank you, guys.
Everybody in the chat, we love you. Thank you. We had a bunch of new people, and I handed out a couple of extra wrenches today. And if you keep showing up and you're not causing trouble, and I start to recognize who you are, you get a wrench. And so you can drop links if you have a wrench, and you can eject trolls. Somebody got timed out. Somebody named Dorothy or Deborah or somebody was in the chat, and I didn't know who it was, but everybody else was like, fuck this person, you need to get out of here. And somebody timed her out. Who was that?
I think it was like Donna Emerald.
Donna Emerald, right. Whoever that was, I don't.
I've never seen that before, but hey.
I don't know, but she got timed out at least once.
I think that's the lady that Truth Convoy says runs a mafia organization or something like that.
Oh, joy.
Oh, really? Okay.
Well, I want to say a little favor on Donna. I have talked to Donna in my comment section. She's always been a lady. She never done anything or offended me. On the contrary, we have very nice conversation. I don't know the past. I don't know who she hurt feelings or whatever. I don't know anything about the lady, but she's always been fair and very respectful in my comment section and my chats. So, and before I go, I want to say, Amy, I really hope that you get better and there is nothing you have to worry about and everything goes well.
Thank you so much, lads. I appreciate it.
Adelaide said she banned Winter Moon. I didn't notice.
Adelaide, what did Winter Moon say? I remember seeing her comments being blocked.
Adelaide banned Winter Moon. Who is Winter Moon? I've heard that name around. Who is that?
Yeah, I've heard that before around.
Katie Brown said she's a troublemaker, referring to Donna. Unless Katie is responding to Adelaide talking about Winter Moon. I don't know.
So I'm out, guys. I don't want to get into that. She say who she say, okay?
Yeah, I hear you,
Yeah.
Laz. Brother, thank you, Laz, for another awesome conversation. And you stay well, and we will be in touch, my friend.
Yes, look, keep on target, keep on doing these things, invite other people, have serious conversation, because I think you got a great thing going on here.
Much love, brother. Love talking to you, dude.
Thank you, my friend. We'll be in touch, man. We'll talk soon.
Much love.
Same.
Okay.
Bye.
All right. So everybody in the chat, thank you guys all for your contributions. Seriously appreciated. Always love seeing the regulars. I'm happy to see a bunch of new people. And you guys know what my final thought is, right?
Take your trash out, or pick up your trash, or something about your trash.
Yeah, pick up your fucking trash.
That's it. That's it.
I'm really sick and tired of walking nature trails, and I do this a lot. We go camping all the time. We walk the dogs in the parks and shit. I'm just so sick and tired of walking around and trying to enjoy nature, and I look down and there's fucking trash everywhere.
Yeah, I'm with you. Just wait till we have the trash cleaning robots.
Okay, Amy. That's a whole other show, honey.
Yeah. I'm hoping.
All right. Well, I'm killing it, you guys. I don't have an outro. I'm just going to say one more time, thank you. And Gandalf and Amy, final thought real quick before I kill this broadcast.
Love always.
Peace and love. Open up your horizons from drama.
Go within your hearts and create your own thoughts. A little homage to Truth Virus. Thanks, you guys. We'll see you next week, and I'm killing it right now. Goodbye.